this because I'll check my phone.
Let's go ahead and call the Tuesday, June 18th meeting to order. I ask you to rise. Our invocation and pledge will be led by our city attorney, Mr. Tom Trace.
Father in heaven, we press on with the work of the city in this final city council meeting before Independence Day. Help us to think clearly without confusion, to speak honestly without rancor, to debate without division, and to decide courageously without contention. Grant your elected officials the grace to finish this week as patriots who love you and count it a high privilege to serve as leaders of our beloved community. As we approach the anniversary of the first reading of the Declaration of Independence and the ringing of the Liberty Bell, we remember the words inscribed on the bell: proclaim liberty throughout all of the land unto the inhabitants thereof. We offer up our thanks and heartfelt appreciation to all our men and women in uniform, whether it be in the armed services, the sheriff's department, or our firefighters, all of which who place their lives on the line every day in order to protect our liberty and our personal, spiritual, religious, political, and economic freedoms. In your powerful name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Say it properly.
Once again, welcome to the meeting. Summertime, a little hot out today, so we're dressing down for the summer. The first item on our agenda is our Citizens Open Forum. It gives you a chance to address the council. We ask that you keep it to no more than 5 minutes. Do not address anything that's on tonight's agenda, and please state your name and address for the record. Having said that, Mr. Walters? Sorry. Should just put you on here as an agenda item. Oh no, then you couldn't talk. Then you couldn't talk.
That's true. Jerry
Like
Walters, Jerry Walters, 1108 Robinwood Drive. I am here for another thing, of being here, and I just wanted to say that this is my first chance since with the new election of city council, and I'm real proud to see all the members here, and I think that you guys will really do a great job in the future of Oldsmar. The future of Oldsmar is very important right now, and I'm glad to see that everybody is taking a hand in it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thanks, Jerry.
Yes. Another Jerry.
And Hosey, 509 Shore Drive East. I am the curator of the Oldsmar Historical Society, and I would like to let you all know that we have a new display about the Oldsmar State Bank buildings, and some of the items we have start from 1919, and we try to do a timeline from 1919 to where we are right now with this building being certified as a LEED building. So come on down and visit. We want to thank Dan and Paula Saraki with Impact Graphics. If you came in on the side entrance, you would have seen the Oldsmar historical sign that's on the window. And if you look at some of our historical pictures, back in 1919, we're kind of going full circle because they had these signs in every window, even on the side. And the Oldsmar Superette picture that we have is almost the same color and everything. So we do thank Dan and Paula Saraki from Impact Graphics. If you go to the Oldsmar Public Library website, Sue Thierry in the reference section has put together a very beautiful pamphlet. It's called Florida History, Local and State History, with all the websites, library data, books, and videos. And it has Oldsmar history, Pinellas County history, Tampa Bay history, state resources, as well as books. So if you're into history, and with Viva Florida 500 and Oldsmar history and state history, visit the website and you can check out items or visit the reference desk. But thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thanks, Jerry.
Anybody else? Yes.
Hi, I'm Susan Hurley. I'm from the Oldsmar Library. I'm the children's librarian. It's at 400 St. Petersburg Drive East. And I just wanted to mention that this week our weekly summer programs have started. We have programs for everyone, all ages. Every day of the week we have something going on, but I'm here to highlight one program that we have, and it kind of goes along with what Jerry was talking about. It has to do with the Viva Florida 500. We've put together a scavenger hunt. It's for kids, but it's also for families to participate in. It's for the Viva Florida 500, but it takes you around to 5 separate places in Oldsmar, and the kids have questions to ask or questions to answer, about each location, and it goes on all summer, and then at the end, we have a prize for the winner. We have a drawing, and you can either pick this up, it's on our website, and we also have copies at the library. That's it, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on this side? Anybody on this side? Anybody in general? Good. We'll close the Citizens Open Forum. The next item is our Community Redevelopment Agency. We have one item, and that is to reschedule the work session on Market Square due to a conflict from the, presenter. What are our?
Yes, Francisco Simic, one of the principals, he had called me and then he sent a memo last week that the other primary parties couldn't make the 20th. And so they've asked to reschedule for the date of July the 9th. It would be 4 p.m. That's a Tuesday, July 9th, where they are all available on that date.
It's already on my calendar.
Yeah, that's what it was last time.
That's what I thought.
It's good for me.
Good for me.
Good for me.
Hey, you down there. Good for you.
You down there.
All right. Our next item is the consent docket. Approve payment to legal counsel and accept the resignation of Lee King from the Code Enforcement Board. Does anybody wish to pull anything?
Nope.
Nope. I need a motion.
So moved.
Need a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Next is the City of Oldsmar. Consider the reappointment of Chuck Winscott to the Planning Board. Is he here? Come on up. As you probably know, we ask you to come before the council, and this particular council, we have a new member, so we'd like to do this so we can put a face with the name and tell you how much we appreciate it, and trivia questions we like to ask you and things like that. So, you have your questions, Gabby? No. Do you have any questions of the council?
No, just that the last 2 or 3 years I've been with the boardsman, I've learned a lot about the city, and I just want to keep on the board. As I've decided, my wife and I, to stay here
Good.
in perpetuity. I'd just like to keep helping out with the board.
And we appreciate that. And we mentioned this at the volunteer dinners that, without our volunteers, these kind of things would not be possible. And we really do appreciate the effort that you guys put in. I need a motion to approve Chuck to the planning board.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Passes. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Next is our city attorney.
Oh, Bill's here.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, council members, item number 5 is adopt resolution 2013-13. I'll read that by title only. Resolution 2013-13, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, appointing a special magistrate to hear red light violation cases, appointing a red light violation clerk, and establishing a pay rate for the special magistrate, and providing for an effective date hereof. That was a reading of Resolution 2013-13. This resolution is coming to you as a direct result of the change in legislation that's going to become effective July the 1st. The next item on the agenda also deals with the same thing, the change in legislation through ATS. We'll get to that in a minute. But this resolution is necessary to be adopted prior to July 1st.
Okay, I need a motion.
So moved.
Need a second?
A second.
Motion and a second. Do we have any discussion on the item? No? All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Passes 5-0.
Next item on your agenda is approve the amendment to the contract with ATS Solutions for red light cameras. Remember, ATS is the company that the city has contracted with to handle the red light camera citations. As a result of the change in legislation, there's a need to change or amend the contract to update it to reflect those changes. A couple of changes are to specifically set a dollar amount for mailing, a $2 per piece mailing rate. There is some language that was added relative to the change in the statute. And there was some changes with regard to the exhibits. They all basically are to bring it in line with the new change in the law. One thing that's not in the law that it has been added to the contract is paragraph number 5, dealing with a convenience fee. If someone is to pay any of the charges and they want to do it electronically, there is a 5%, up to a 5% fee for that. It's going to be the actual dollar amount, up to 5%. the violator would be paying that, the city would not be paying that fee. So that is added to the contract as well. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, this is something that needs to be done to bring the contract in line with the new change in the law.
It's just something we have to do. I need a motion to approve. Need a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Thank you. Before we get to the city manager, I see someone has arrived that probably missed the citizen open forum. Bill is here, and you have something in your hand. Would you like to step up to the podium? Yes. I'm afraid to ask. I can't read.
What do you think that is?
Tom.
Or something, I can see it from here. I already got one.
Oh, that is,
Yeah, I already have one.
Have one.
that is fantastic.
Well, then
My
it's gotta
name is
be
Bill Holden.
the mayor.
I've lived in Oldsmar for 28 years. I live at 234 Pelican Drive North in Galea Village. I know all you members except
Gabby?
maybe 2. 3. Because I know
Wow.
Gary for years and years.
And years.
And
And years.
she's always been my sweetheart. And every time I see her, she has a big smile. Oh, I love that. Tom, I knew him. I never had him work for me, but I understand you're good.
Thank you.
And Doug,
Yes,
I got to know you pretty good, and
I've been to your house several times.
yes, and I told you if you won that I would do a sculpture of you.
You sure did.
And
Yeah,
Bruce,
cute.
I know Bruce for many, many years. And I've heard of you, Gabby.
That's a start.
My daughter knows you,
Yes,
Cindy.
Cindy.
And Linda, I don't know you, but
Well, I know you.
you do?
Good things.
Oh, that's good. And the clerk, I think I met you briefly once. Well, anyway, I'm getting old. I'm 88,
Oh,
Wow.
and I'm so lucky. I'm a lucky man. I got a good wife of 61 years,
Well,
and a lovely daughter, and a son-in-law he's my best friend, and he takes me anywhere I want to go. And Doug, I'd like to present this to you,
Here, I'll come down there.
and I hope you like it. I liked it.
That's pretty cool.
I even put you in that blue suit and that
That's right, you told me you were gonna.
that red tie.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much. That's great.
I wonder, could
He didn't tell
I?
me he was
What
not gonna spike my hair.
What does the briefcase say?
The briefcase says Mayor Doug Beavis.
Could we have a picture?
Yeah,
And what does the bottom say?
to Mayor Doug Beavis of Oldsmar, sculptor Bill Holden, 2013.
See, I got that hand up
Yeah,
there,
you got it.
and there's no fingers pointing. Where's Cat?
She's getting the other
camera.
Thank you very much, that's really neat.
Well, I enjoyed doing you. Doug?
Can we, while
Yeah.
she's getting the camera?
Yeah.
Oh, this is great.
I'm better looking at the sculpture.
Love your Mayor, I
Wow.
love your eyelashes.
I have eyelashes.
You have eyelashes.
Your hair is neater, by the way I did it.
Yeah, you made my hair.
Eyelashes. Did you give me eyelashes? Bill, you didn't give me eyelashes. Yeah, he sure did. He sure did. You and I talked about that.
I think you're a nice-looking young man.
that's what his mom says too.
I know, that's adorable.
Thank you very much.
Well, I guess you heard of me enough. I'm going to say one thing. I didn't know these girls were so pretty. Let me get a good look at you.
Are you doing a little research, Bill?
Nice to meet you, Bill.
Okay, I noticed your hair's parted on the left. Oh, be right.
That's
yeah.
right.
And
Hello, sir.
I'm sort of a comedian, you know. I like to think I am. I like to have people laugh. And you're Gabby. Okay, well, what's your favorite color?
I like purple.
Purple. And you got blue eyes?
I have brown eyes.
Brown eyes. Oh, yeah. How about you, Linda?
My favorite color is red,
Red.
and I have like green eyes, hazel.
Oh, I like green eyes, yeah.
I'm an Irish girl. I'm an Irish girl.
Hello, my grandfather. He says, watch out for women with green eyes.
Right.
Bruce, it's so good to see you.
You too, Bill. Good to see you.
What color are your eyes, Bruce?
They're blue, but I've already been.
He's got nice blue eyes.
Pleasure. And here's my sweetheart, Janice, and my friend Jerry. I've known Jerry for many, many years. We never fought, did we? We always got along good.
Not yet.
Okay, it's nice meeting
Thank you, Bill.
all.
Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks for coming.
Okay.
You taking our mic with you?
No, but I do have to go home. I'm not allowed out,
Oh, past 7:30?
but I'm going to stay a little while.
Okay.
I have one question for you.
Yes.
One question. What is your secret to your longevity, 88 years of happiness?
Never go to bed angry. Never go angry at your wife.
What about if you don't have a wife?
Companion. That's my motto, and try to love everybody. Unless they do something.
Thanks.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Bill. Thank you. Up next is our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. The next item, consider approval of site plan amendment for Forest Lakes Plaza. This property is located at the northwest corner of Tampa Road and Forest Lakes Boulevard. This will be a Snyder hearing, and all those wishing to speak before the council will need to be sworn in, so.
All right.
Not sure.
Turn that over to our city attorney.
I'd be happy to do that. Everybody's going to stand. Are you going to speak tonight? Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. You swear that the testimony you're about to give is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. So, Mr. Mayor, the city should make its presentation first.
Yep.
Marie Daphne, Plan and Redevelopment Director. This property, as the city manager said, is located on the corner of Forest Lakes, is known as Forest Lakes Shopping Plaza. It's located on the northwest corner of the intersection of Tampa Road and Forest Lakes Boulevard. It has a zoning designation of C2, general commercial, and a future land use designation of commercial general. Currently, the property contains 88,400 square feet of a plaza building and 3 out parcels, consisting of a Chili's restaurant, Jefferson Bank with retail, and a vacant lot, and it's known as Retail Pad B. The plaza has been operating with a high vacancy rate since the closing of the Winn-Dixie store. And current uses at the center include a walk-in clinic, cleaners, pet store, ballet company, and hockey store. Okay. So the request is for an amendment to the site plan to renovate the building, reconfigure the parking lot, demolish 2,797 square feet of an existing building, renovate the building facades, and install landscaping. And this minor amendment also includes a request for 8 variances along with this amendment. This is a picture of the existing condition of the shopping center. You know, it's the parking area is not compliant with the land development code. This is the southern entrance, the closest one to Tampa Road. The middle entrance, that's the one that would be used most frequently. And the northern entrance really is for loading and unloading vehicles. The current architecture of the property is outdated, as I said, and the parking lot is configured in a way that does not comply with the code. So the applicant is proposing to include landscaping in some terminal islands. And they've also proposed to landscape along Tampa Road, as shown in this picture, along Forest Lakes Boulevard, and that will be enhanced and extended along Tampa Road, the Tampa Road frontage. The parking lot will have a landscaped entryway consisting of Washingtonian palms, and it will extend from Tampa Road to the plaza, and that will create like an entryway effect. The entryway on Tampa Road will feature a monument sign in a style that complements the facade of the building in the plaza. Staff worked with the applicant to enhance the design of the existing buildings to include earth tone exterior colors, enhanced architectural features such as new parapets, and other architectural features such as accent tiles. As I said, the minor amendment includes 8 variances, excuse me. The variances are reduce the western landscape buffer from 5 feet to 4.5 feet, increase the building height from 35 feet to 45 feet, increase the height of a wall sign from 16 feet to 37.34 feet, permit the elimination of interior islands every 80 feet, permit the elimination of landscape divider medians between rows of abutting parking spaces, reduce the size of parking stalls from 10 feet by 20 feet to 9 feet by 18 feet, and also reduce the size of handicap stalls from 15 feet by 20 feet to 12 feet by 18 feet. Seventh, increase the impervious surface ratio from 0.70 to 0.83, and finally increase the size of a wall sign from 150 square feet to 368 square feet. Now, these variances were reviewed against the standards outlined in section 3.17.3 of the Land Development Code. So the first variance was reduce the western landscape buffer from 5 feet to 4.5 feet. It's highlighted in the red on the slide. The applicant proposes to have the delivery truck, and you can see it in outline of blue, access from Tampa Road and then continue along the side of the property so they can access the loading area in the back. This is to increase the building height from 35 feet to 45 feet. We had asked the applicant to provide some kind of architectural enhancements, and so we really have no objection to this variance request. The third variance, to increase the height of a wall sign from 16 feet to 37.34 feet. This will allow for greater visibility of the sign along the Tampa Road frontage. So staff has no objections to 1 through 3, the variances, and we are recommending approval of those. The fourth variance, the applicant is requesting a variance to eliminate the interior islands every 80 feet. The areas highlighted in red show that the distance for the interior islands are from anywhere from 81 feet to 108 feet. There are no islands in the rear of the property. The area highlighted in blue, the interior islands are every 160 feet. So I'll just go through these and do a recommendation. The fifth variance is also related to the parking area, and this is to permit the elimination of landscape divider medians. The code requires head-on parking spaces to have a 5-foot wide landscape buffer to separate it. It should be landscaped with trees. And because of this variance, there's going to be less landscaping, less green space. There's going to be like a sea of parking, and we feel that it's going to create a safety hazard because potentially they could cross taxi without the divider medians. The sixth variance is to reduce the size of the parking stalls from 10 feet by 20 feet to 9 by 18 feet, and reduce the size of the handicap stalls from 15 feet by 20 to 12 by 18. And it's in staff's opinion that this is unnecessary, and it really demonstrates that the property is being overdeveloped. The code does have a provision, 15.8.1.2, that permits the length of a parking stall to be reduced, provided that you give 2 feet of additional landscaping, but the applicant has not attempted to mitigate the reduction in parking stall size. The seventh variance, the request to increase the impervious surface ratio from 0.70 to 0.83. And this is really a direct result of the proposal to construct 529 parking spaces. and to develop the existing lot identified as Phase 2 Retail A. And you can see where that is. It's located on the western property boundary. It's closest to Tampa Road. So in staff's opinion, the variances 4 through 7 are the result of the cross easement agreement and declaration of covenants that the owner and the plaza entered into with the Chili's property and the other out parcels. Number of parking spaces agreed to under the agreement, 529 spaces, exceeds the city's parking requirement, which would be 490 stalls. And these additional parking spaces prevent the installation of required divider medians.
Marie, reiterate that part. Parking place, the parking stalls. From
As
what
far
to-
as the agreement?
From what to what?
Oh, from 529 stalls per the agreement, and the city's requirement would be 490 stalls. And these additional parking spaces prevent the installation of required divider medians, the reduction or elimination of the number and spacing of interior islands, eliminated required trees in green area, and reduce the parking stall size throughout the vehicular use area. And the final variance, variance 8, is a request to increase the size of a wall sign from 150 square feet to 368 square feet. Section 13.1.4 states that any attached sign that exceeds 150 square feet in sign area is prohibited. So it's the city's attorney opinion that the city council should not consider this request. So staff is recommending denial of variances 4 through 7, and variance number 8 we are not considering at this time. The staff does support the redevelopment of this property, but contends that the cross-access agreement currently in place has resulted in excessive on-site parking. We really feel that the applicant could provide the necessary landscaping, provide the interior islands, provide the divider medians. But staff is recommending approval of the variances, of the site plan contingent on the following. One second. The interior islands be every 80 feet. Second, that the provide the divider medians between rows of abutting parking spaces. Third, all parking spaces shall be 10 by 20 and handicap spaces shall be 15 by 20. The impervious surface ratio shall be 0.70. And finally, no wall sign shall be in excess of 150 square feet. So I'd like to enter the staff report into the record, and if there are any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Yeah.
I have some, so.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Let Jerry.
I just have one, well, I got a bunch of questions, but I have one. You did tell them that this is what they're gonna deliver.
That is what they have planned to redevelop the shopping park.
Tell them that's what they will deliver.
That's what,
I don't care about their plans. They will deliver this.
Well,
If they deliver this, then they might as well get up and walk out, as far as I'm concerned. I want this. That.
questions?
Well, okay.
Janice?
Actually, I don't did you say that they want the trucks to go in off of Tampa Road? Why? If they're
because
going
it's
to
too
the
hard
bays?
well, it's too hard to maneuver off the Forest Lakes Plaza. That's why I showed you that picture of the northern entryway. The
Yeah, like if
loading
you're-
and unloading will be behind the building, and it's too hard to access it.
What happens, I don't mean to, but in answer to that, what happens if it's a eastbound truck on Tampa Road?
They're gonna use Forest Lake.
They're gonna use Forest Lake, I mean, and they're certainly not
That
making a
is the
U-turn.
plan, to use the Tampa Road.
Okay, sorry.
Well, they can't do that if they're going east on Tampa Road. I mean, they have to turn left on Forest Lakes and then come into the,
Kind of reverse, I guess.
Yeah.
yeah.
Still would be able to exit, off of Tampa Road too then.
Doesn't that parking go all the way around?
Yes.
So, I mean, that shouldn't be a problem for them. Well, anyway, another question. Washingtonian palms, do you know how tall they are? Ours was hit by lightning And it costs us a fortune to take the blasted thing down. I
Well,
think
it's
those
gonna
are a
give
little
that
high.
entryway feature effect from Tampa Road.
Really?
They're slow growers, though.
Mine wasn't.
It's in
Grew
your
like you
yard,
put
that's
manure
why.
on it.
You fertilize it all the time.
No, I didn't.
Well, you didn't?
I brought that thing home in the Camaro for
Okay.
crying out loud.
Other questions?
Anyway, no. Not right now.
Gabby?
I agree with you on 1 through 3. I don't see any problem with that. 4
This should be
through,
just questions, Gabby,
Questions.
because the applicant's going to make a presentation too, and.
Okay, I'll
and-
wait till-
Okay.
You have questions of staff?
one of the questions I had was if there was an option, and this may be for the applicant, of seeing an alternative color scheme. The nice thing about, on the previous council, when you voted on the library, was you had a few options to choose from. And my only concern with these colors, although they're nice colors, is we have a lot of these colors already on Tampa Road. The AMC Plaza, the
I
Jersey
agree.
Mike's building, the Hampton Inn. It would just be nice to see an alternative set of earth tones, maybe ivories, mossy greens, something of that nature.
I agree.
Just an option.
I agree too, because these colors are gonna be going out pretty soon, being a painting contractor.
Well, wait a minute.
I don't like it.
That's
I
something.
don't disagree with what you're saying, but when we get involved in choosing colors for
Just-
developers.
I think she's just making a
It's just,
suggestion.
yeah, it would be nice to have the option. I don't want to overreach if it's something that's, you know.
And I agree with you.
Well, and it is
so
something
does
that's in
Linda.
the code, right? That we have
We can
approval
ask, I
over
mean,
colors.
That's fine. We can talk to the applicant
It's just a
too.
request.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions of staff?
Nope.
My question is one that Jerry had brought up. That it's actually, code is 100 spaces less than what they are they are proposing.
39.
Oh, 39. I need to go back to math class. 39. Okay. All right.
I guess a question, the monument sign that you showed, is that going to replace the monument sign that's there?
Yes.
Looks substantially smaller, I guess. Is that correct? Or is it just the perception
Know
of
what the
it?
size of the sign is that's currently there, but it.
Visually, it didn't
They
look
wanted
great.
it to match the facade of the new building.
Right, which I understand that. And I guess then my question.
Show that again, that picture again,
I don't know if
please.
they can get to it.
I think I have it right here.
It's pretty good size.
Oh, okay, I got it. I didn't get these.
It needs
It does
to
look,
be,
yeah, I guess.
it needs to be big though, so.
Well, I'm sure they want the sign to be big.
And I guess in my question about parking is the 529 that they have, or the 490 that we're saying, is that based on current code? Because I know, and does that mean that the Chili's is being counted as a restaurant as opposed to retail, like
No,
we used
the
to?
Chili's is being counted as part of the shopping plaza.
But is it parked as restaurant or retail, I guess? Because originally our code parked your
Seven per
restaurant.
thousand, well, we aren't taking it out separately, we're including it as part of the whole shopping plaza.
But I guess, because our code used to not differentiate between restaurants and retail as far as how many spaces per 1,000
A
square feet.
shopping plaza also includes restaurants and retail uses, and that's part of that 4.5 per thousand.
Okay, I mean, kind of like when and the reason I asked this is we're in the middle of a mess with Bay Arbor Place that we knew we were going to probably get into because the restaurants were parked as retail, even though restaurants are at a higher rate. We're trying to figure out, they're busting at the seams, and I don't know what the uses, some of the other uses are going to be in that. I know they've had restaurants in that plaza. I don't know if they're going to have restaurants in there.
Bay Arbor, that I think is unique in that it was a different zoning and land use, and then
Bay
there's
Arbor and the
specific
other
use.
one down here. like
Specific uses
There's
that
where
were
we had the
permitted.
problems because their parking lots are so small
Yeah.
that we got in a problem with too many restaurants in there. But with this thing, this parking lot's big as 2 football fields.
Yeah.
So you won't run into the same problem.
And I guess then so I mean, it's 39 spaces overparked. I guess, what's the proposal of the out parcel? Would that,
Well, staff is asking the applicant not to develop that out parcel, so it could be, green area.
right, okay. Okay, I have no other questions at this time.
What kind of parcel are you talking about?
Retail,
There's a
pad,
to the north of Chili's, there's a pad.
it's directly south and.
They were color suggestions.
Thanks, Bill.
Because Chili's was part of that whole complex.
Yes,
I have no other questions right now. Would you like to submit that for the record?
yes,
Oh, you did? Good. Dang, I was was trying to catch you.
Wait a minute, Mayor, I do have one more, not an elaboration, but the city messed up when we okayed Chili's. Not on Chili's itself, but we caused a huge problem with the parking lot. What kind of drainage? Have you approached the drainage in there? Because the drainage is horrible. That parking lot floods, in other words.
I think that Public Works has spoken to the engineer, but I don't.
Okay, well, we'll talk.
We'll talk. I do have one more question about
It floods.
I have a question about the parking. If we don't approve the variances that they've asked for the parking, how does that affect them? And do they then meet the 490 minimum? I guess if we were to.
Well, they'd redesign it so they provide the interior landscape islands, the divider medians,
Would giving up 39 spaces allow them?
and the retail pad A.
Oh, and the retail pad A, okay.
That's just
pad
that's
A.
just a vacant lot. It's like an out parcel. And
Oh,
it's not
oh,
developed.
okay.
It's future development.
But
of
not to
phase two.
develop it as a development, a retail or whatever, but to turn it into green space parking, which,
Green space.
Yeah, you need
okay,
you need the water to be able to.
okay.
We looked at this again though, and there's, a number of parking spaces in the rear of the building, the plaza. So, staff would be agreeable to them just leaving that, not putting the divider medians there, not putting, the interior landscape islands in the rear of the plaza.
They should go in the back anyway.
Okay. I have no further questions at this time.
Okay, now would be time for the applicant to
Applicant.
step forward and make a presentation.
Thank you, Marie.
You could give us your name and address, please.
Why don't you want to turn that to the audience and we can see it on here somehow, so they can see it?
Good idea.
Are we gonna be able to see, is this on our monitors possibly?
These are new.
Oh, okay.
Turn one to a camera somewhere.
Good evening. My name is Russell Ottenberg. I'm with Planning Incorporated at 16855 LeClaire Shores Drive, Tampa, Florida, 33624. Representing Forest Lakes Plaza. With me tonight is Jim Dunphy, the owner's representative for the shopping center redevelopment, Dave Mechanic, attorney hired by the owner, and Drew Copley, the landscape architect for the project. If I could, I'd just like to introduce my CV and Drew's into the record.
Stamp it, and pass it
Are
down,
you going
mark
to
it
make a
as number one.
presentation of some kind? If you aren't,
Yeah,
turn
can
one of
you,
these
can you
things-
guys get one of these easels or the easels on camera at some point, do you think?
You can use this camera here, I think, can't they?
We'll just see if we can line one of them up.
Just to let him go on, I
Yeah.
think we'll work it out as
Yeah.
he does his presentation.
As I destroyed the eagle. I'm perfectly capable. Are you sure? Thank you. I'll be doing a short presentation to start with on the history of the shopping center and how that relates to the application before you today. That'll be followed by some brief remarks by Jim Dunphy on the business aspects of the shopping center. And then Dave Mechanic will discuss some of the legal basis for some of the particulars in our application. And then finally, I'll finish by summarizing our reasons that we feel this particular application should be approved. This shopping center was originally designed and permitted and constructed in the early to mid-'80s. So it's about 35 years old now, almost 40 years old. It was originally approved, and this is in the application package we submitted, for about 117,000 square feet of gross floor area, building area. And at that time, that particular site plan had an impervious surface ratio of 0.9, which is obviously higher than even what's out there today. The majority of the buildings in that site plan were constructed, the Winn-Dixie and the main shopping center. of those along the western side of the property were not constructed. In 1991, there was a modification approved by the city to the site plan that expanded the Winn-Dixie within the shopping center. That expansion was actually on the site plan from the 1980s, and that 1991 site plan is also in your packet. The plan was modified again more recently to construct the Chili's at the corner that we were discussing earlier. And in the 1991 site plan, and then in the site plan that approved the Chili's, the parking and access along Tampa Road were modified both times as well. That plan, the most recent plan, eliminated some of the retail buildings along the western property line, but did retain the retail pad that Marie was discussing before, and for which we were proposing about 6,600 square feet of retail building. And so the improvements on that last plan that were reviewed and approved by the city and constructed reflect the conditions that exist today. This is, I believe, figure 1 in your packet, and that shows the existing shopping center, the parking configuration, and everything that's out there. Currently, Forest Lakes Plaza consists of about 11.2 acres of land. It has a 100-foot wide Florida Power and Light easement, power line transmission easement, along the northern property line. There is about 88,400 square feet of building space. There are 449 parking spaces on the shopping center proper today. That translates into a ratio of 5.08 spaces per 1,000 square feet. The existing ISR, the ISR that's out there today, is 0.86. Now, it should be noted that each of the site plans that is in the packet, and what is shown here is the existing conditions, was designed, permitted, and constructed in accordance with the city's regulations at the time those plans were submitted. It should also be noted that at no time did those codes require the wholesale redevelopment of Forest Lakes Plaza.
Say that again?
At no time did any of those plans require the wholesale redevelopment of Forest Lakes Plaza. This is the major modification site plan that's before you tonight and for which we are seeking approval. Now, the genesis for that is associated, and the associated variance request is based on the re-tenanting of the old Winn-Dixie space, labeled as the Aldi Ross retrofit area on this and in your packet. In presenting this plan to the city, staff determined that the re-tenanting of the space would trigger the need to bring the entire site into compliance with current code, including using the Tampa Overlay District criteria. This in turn triggered the need to rework the entire building facade, parking, lighting, landscaping, those things that Marie had mentioned. Internally, we worked through 5 iterations of this site plan before bringing it to staff to see how we could best incorporate all of those criteria that the city has. The one landscape or landscape island per 80 feet, the landscape divider median islands, 10 by 20 parking spaces, all of that. Ultimately, we found that we could not incorporate all of the current criteria into the existing constraints of the site.
Wait a minute, you say you couldn't or wouldn't?
Couldn't. We made an effort. We did 5 plans trying to do that.
Couldn't and wouldn't mean about the same thing sometimes.
The facade design, site plan, and landscape plan that resulted from those site planning efforts were then presented to staff. That was reviewed at a pre-submittal meeting, and we were given some comments from staff requesting that we generally increase green space, enhance landscaping, and improve the facade design. What we have submitted and is before you today is a result of that. We were able to add some elements to the facade design. We were able to squeeze out some more landscape space, add some more landscaping, and enhance it as much as we could. Unfortunately, due to the fact that we have an existing built-out site, there are a lot of physical constraints that preclude strict compliance with the letter of the code. It's simply not possible in this instance. Consequently, as detailed in our application, there are a number of variances needed to effectuate the rehabilitation of the site plan. Marie summarized those. However, it should be noted that the site plan before you does several things. One, it represents our best effort at implementing the spirit of the current code and as much of the actual letter of the code as possible, and addresses staff's requests. It also provides a plan that is marketable to the retailers who will occupy the center, and it will be a far more attractive destination in keeping with the overall goals of the code and the Tampa Road Overlay District. As the market suitability of Forest Lakes Plaza is a prime factor in attracting tenants to this project, I'd like to have Jim Dunphy speak to that a little bit. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. I appreciate your time tonight. My name's Jim Dunphy. I'm representing the owner of the subject property as her developer. I have 29 years of experience in retail leasing, management, and development in Florida, and primarily in the local Tampa Bay region. I'd like to first focus my comments on the issue of the signage and explain why you're hearing and are preparing to discuss something as seemingly trivial as a facade sign. First, reiterating Mr. Ottenberg's comment, the property was developed in 1985. In that era, and frankly in most areas of the state still to this day, shopping centers were constructed with a sizable setback from the primary arteries. In our case, the project sits back some 600 plus feet from Tampa Road. One of the primary reasons that big box retailers such as Ross and Aldi require larger signs is so that they can be seen from the roadway. Such is the case with the existing condition in the big box tenants that we are now dealing with. These are trademark signs that reveal brand recognition. Everyone knows what a Walmart sign looks like, for example. This is an intentional marketing approach. As such, all big box tenants require larger sign formats. There are no big box tenants that I am aware of that will go into a non-urban location, especially one set back so far from the roadway, without their prototypical signage installed on the facade. Again, this is the normal size for a big box sign. What we're requesting is usual and customary. There is precedent already set for the size of the sign that we're requesting. Tenants like Target, Marshalls, and Walmart all exist within the city limits with large sign formats. Please note, all of these tenants are direct competitors of our proposed tenant Ross. We shouldn't expect our big box tenants to enter into our project at such a competitive disadvantage, and frankly, they won't. We want our tenants and our project to be successful. The project will only become successful and viable again if we are able, to the best of our ability, to ensure that all the tenants are successful and able to pay rents commensurate with other properties in the area. For the record, we're not talking about the inline or smaller tenants. We are only talking about tenants that exceed 10,000 square feet. We have 3 spaces, or actually 2 spaces, that meet that criteria. The Winn-Dixie space, which will be split for Aldi and Ross, and the old Eckerd space, which is just barely exceeds 10,000 square feet. You should know that we have been in final negotiations with these 2 nationally branded tenants, Aldi and Ross. In particular, they have flatly stated if we cannot achieve their prototypical signs in the case of the tenant in the case of Ross, that is 365 square feet. Based on your formula for calculating the size of the sign, they will cease to have further interest in the property. Indeed, if this tenant walks away, it will not be economically feasible for us to go ahead with this renovation. This property has sat fallow for many years, as you well know. It has been in decline for a very long time. After years of marketing and negotiation, finally, we have the opportunity to renovate the shopping center, bringing the property up to today's standards and in a way that is economically feasible to do so. We are respectfully requesting your assistance. We have existing tenants that are desperately in need of an anchor tenant. And we have stretched to meet the current ordinances and provide a project that we can all be proud of while working within the physical confines of the property. Please help us meet the needs of the tenants and the needs of the community. We have a great opportunity to fix the problem. Before I introduce
Before you go any further,
Mr. Mechanic.
I'll introduce somebody. Just a minute.
Can I address your earlier questions?
Okay. No, you know
Hold on,
what?
hold
Wait a minute. No, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Please.
You know, we got a project here that everybody's glad that it's finally coming in there after 10 years or 11 years, which is not the fault of the city. We're trying to work with everybody. Wait a minute. Okay, and you come in here and we have to go through all this parking and all this, and you're bringing up a sign? That's the least of our problems
Yeah.
tonight.
Can we just, I'd like to let them finish and then we'll work through these, variance requests and ask them questions. I hate to chop up the
No, it's okay.
presentation.
It's okay.
But I don't
I'm sorry, I don't mean to upset you or put you in
we're
a
not
position
upset.
where you're tired of hearing what I'm saying.
The whole project is
Mr. Mayor.
important to us tonight.
Yeah.
We can work on the sign later.
No, sir, I'm afraid we can't. Let me express
Does
why.
anybody have a problem with the size of the signs?
We need to.
I would like to, I would like to,
let them do their presentation.
don't
I would
have
like
a
to hear the
problem with it.
presentation and then discuss the variances one at a time and, well,
I would.
Nobody has a problem
I
with the
think,
signs.
frankly, I think we're pretty close to resolving, whatever disparity there may be between what you want and what we want.
Okay.
Our goal is to create a win-win-win scenario.
Of course.
Okay? We're real close to that. Let me express to you why the sign is so important.
We know why the sign is so important.
You don't have to sell me on the sign.
Yeah, me
Sell me on
either.
the project.
Okay, very good. So you have no problem with us getting 365 square feet for the
No,
Ross
don't
sign?
respond to that question. He needs to
no.
finish his presentation, and you need to hear all the evidence before you make a decision.
that's what I'm
on that.
trying to,
I appreciate it.
before we just start discussing it, I'd like to hear everything.
Just quickly, and I'll move on to your other points. Ross has told us that they won't do the deal without the sign, period. That's where we're at today. We have to have them. With regards to the drainage, you mentioned drainage, and drainage is a major concern. We have put $75,000 this past year into cleaning the storm system, which was completely mucked full with silt over
Yes, it was.
for 25 years of silt
Because it
buildup.
was not maintained.
Okay. That being the case, we have resolved that problem. The storm system in the parking lot works. Our issue with flooding in the back of the shopping center is a direct result of an outfall blockage on the Walmart property. We have addressed that with SwiftMud. We have requested their help in gaining, assistance with the maintenance of that outfall structure on the other side of Forest Lake Boulevard, adjacent to our property, which enters into the Walmart property. So far, nothing has been responded to. But in terms of our storm system, it is working as designed, sir. And it has been approved that we have maintained it. We have that letter from SwiftMud. They have fully inspected it and agreed that we have maintained the system.
Good.
With regard to your question on elevation, your comment on elevation, we have no plans to do anything other than what we have presented to you.
Good.
With the question of Ms. Norris's question on colors. We're trying to follow what your ordinances require. Those are earth tone colors. We're just trying to follow what your ordinance requires. If we would be allowed to come back to staff and work with staff on that, I assure you, we will make everybody happy.
Sure.
Okay, so that's not a concern.
Right.
With regards to parking, I've been authorized to offer you in fact, a deletion of the existing 6,000 square foot pad as buildable area on our site plan.
You say you have been authorized to delete that?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
And what that nets us is a net of 33 spaces, closer to your number. I can't meet your number. I cannot meet your number, but I can get darn close. With regards to the, yes, ma'am.
Could you say that again so I
Sure.
can see it on the map?
Yes, if you take the 6,600 square foot pad here, phase 2, pad A.
So retail A?
Yeah, if you take that off the site plan, we no longer need 33 spaces associated with it.
And what would that area become?
Green space?
Just green space, okay?
We'd have to reconfigure the parking lot still, and we would do that, but you'd end up with green space.
That would be in the development agreement that would be in,
Yeah.
what's that word, for perpetuity or whatever that word is?
In perpetuity.
Are you asking, are you doing that in order to not have as many of the variances of the,
Yes, ma'am.
green spaces within?
Yeah,
So it's kind of like you're doing that as a compromise.
Correct.
There are some compromises that we require as it pertains to the landscaping and the size of the parking spaces. It is impossible for us to meet those ordinances within the existing confines of the shopping center development. It's not possible for us to do that.
I can ask a question? Okay, you want to make the parking spaces smaller.
No, please address that.
I thought you wanted to go from 10 by 20 to
9 by 18.
9 by 18.
Yes, ma'am. And
Why would you do that when people are going to be having packages and everything? I'll tell you what, if I can't get into a parking space and open my doors when I go shopping, then I'm not going there.
sure, I understand your concern. And I know this
See, we have it all over town.
Sure,
So you know
I understand
what
that.
I'm talking about.
Sure. City of Oldsmar is a bit unique in that respect. The majority of the municipalities have 9 by 18 stall spaces. That's standard.
But they're not Oldsmar.
I understand. I understand that. One of the reasons that we sought to shrink the parking from 10 by 20 to 9 by 18 is, as I had mentioned, we did 5 iterations of site plans. The first 4 were all 10 by 20. We couldn't get near the amount of parking we needed with the 10 by 20 spaces. And it may not seem like much. The 1 foot of additional width adds up over the depth of the.
Well, if you,
Let me just.
Was that iteration, did that include the exclusion of that parcel A when you did the
right.
larger parking
right,
spaces?
That's my question, too.
Well, no, it did not.
Because that, if I understood him correct, that part added 30 spaces, is that?
33 spaces. And what we would do is, I'll answer that question in a second. We have 2 things going on here. The width of the parking spaces, you wouldn't get as many parking spaces in this dimension because of the 10-foot wide. Where it's really critical, though, is the 20-foot deep. You end up with 2 foot here, 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 all the way across. That makes this wider and wider. So we actually lose entire tubes of parking. Okay?
Tubes of parking.
This would be a tube of parking.
A whole island.
An entire.
Then I would say,
Well, but to your point, if we eliminate this, and this is what Jim was getting at, what we would do is we would reconfigure the parking lot, okay, to distribute this green area
Yes.
within the parking lot.
Yes.
And by eliminating the need for the additional 33 spaces, we would be able to meet the one island every 80-foot requirement. So we would have more interior islands.
Yeah.
I don't know that we would be able to provide landscape median islands between the head-to-head parking, though. Perhaps in some, I don't know if we could do it for all. I'd have to work out the geometry. I just don't know the answer to that. I suspect we couldn't do it for all of them.
That would be a good, give and take.
Agreed.
I'm a little confused. I understand everything that you're going over, but what confuses me is the statement that you could not meet the code. But if we have an unrealistic, I guess Marie would have to answer this question. If it's our code is a certain thing and what you're saying is you cannot do, I don't know why. Why can you not do what?
We have a shopping center that has a certain, it has 88,400 square feet of gross floor area now. And I know we're kind of jumping around here. That requires, per your code, so many parking spaces at 4.4 per thousand. We looked at the parking requirements from a parking generation standpoint as well. Because what we want to make sure that we do is we provide adequate parking for the users within the center. And to do that, this is included in your package. We went to the Institute of Transportation Engineers, ITE's Parking Generation Manual, which I have with me if any of you would like to read it tonight. There are two, we looked at two of the land use codes in there, one for neighborhood shopping centers, which is what this would qualify for, and the other for quality restaurants, because the Chili's is a standalone quality restaurant. The calculations are also in the application package you have. Based on the ITE parking generation requirements, and they say these are the minimum requirements, not the top, the minimum requirements for neighborhood shopping centers and quality restaurants. This shopping center would need 529 parking spaces. Now that includes the 6,600 square feet that Jim said we'd be willing to put by the wayside. So that will reduce somewhat, but not tremendously. So our initial application was based on the ITE parking generation rates.
Now, whose codes are those? Is that something that you have to adhere to?
That it's not a code. The Institute of Transportation Engineers is part of the National Academy of Sciences, and they research all of this.
Our requirements. Does
No.
it trump our requirements?
No.
So
It does not.
you're basically going off of what is kind of standard elsewhere, blah, 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 and then saying it doesn't comply with what, it's not easy to do that with what we want.
Well, it's a little bit different.
I don't mean to sound like I don't know.
Sure.
I just want to understand this, because it's important.
It's a standard that they put out there, but it's just a standard.
It's a
that-
standard that they put out there.
Yeah, it's a
and so
standard,
we
that's all.
Worked it all
That's
out
all
on
it is.
that, because I
That's
just want
all
to
it
get
is.
to the bottom line of why you can't do what we're
But,
asking.
let me give you
Well,
an example. Let me give you an example. What they used to do all the time, we don't do that much anymore, about trips.
Trip generation?
When somebody comes in, there's how many trips you got?
Yeah.
Well, I can hire 2 attorneys, and I get 2 attorneys to analyze the trips from this big standard out there, and I get any answer I want.
Can I ask a question real quick before we get crazy with questions? Have you,
Sure.
testimony-wise, have you presented everything you had before we go crazy with asking questions that you may already be answering? As far as your presentation,
Yeah. Let me finish up with just. Okay. And And we've gone over a lot of this, so if you'll bear with me a minute, I'm just going to get rid of some of this. One thing that I did want to discuss in the reasoning for approving this, with all due respect to Marie, we have a little bit different take on what's going on. Marie said that there's an increase in impervious surface ratio, for example. We're actually decreasing impervious surface. The current ISR is 0.86. What we are proposing here would reduce it to 0.83. With the elimination of the 6,600 square feet of retail, that would get down to about 0.82, 0.81, around there. That 0.03 difference in ISR that we had originally applied for translates into 15,000, nearly 15,000 square feet of additional green space. Right, because the entire site is 487,000 square feet, so small percentages turn into large quantities of green space. As to the variances, we requested a variance to the requirement of the intermediate landscape island. I think if we agree to that, giving up that 6,600 square feet, we won't need that variance. We'll be able to provide one parking space every 80 linear feet, so I don't think that's an issue at this point.
Parking space?
No, I'm sorry, one landscape island.
Oh.
Island
I'm
every
sorry.
80 feet.
And wouldn't eliminating the retail A decrease your ISR as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
I just have,
By 1 or 2 percentage points.
We can't have him talking from the seat over there. We don't know who he is. He hasn't
Yeah, I can't-
identified himself. So we can't be having questions answered like that. Okay.
We have requested the variance to eliminate landscape divider medians between the head-to-head. Again, I think we might be able to add some additional median landscape dividers, but I don't think through the entire parking lot. The reason for that is as I stated earlier, adding those divider medians expands each parking row, east to west. And what that'll do, particularly if it's coupled with the 10 by 20 parking spaces, because we'll add 4 feet in width to the overall parking tube, plus the landscape divider median, we'll just lose entire tubes of parking, entire double rows of parking. So we don't believe that we would be able to meet that particular section of the code, and so that variance request stays in place. Even if we were able to do that up front, we would still need to have that particular variance, because the parking in the rear we're not touching, which is this parking back here.
Yeah.
There simply isn't room in the north-south direction to add those landscape divider medians and maintain any parking in there.
I can understand that.
So we still have to have that. Now, we will try to meet that to the extent possible, but we'll still need the variance.
Let him finish.
The parking stall size variance, again, city code requires 10 by 20 spaces. We're looking at 9 by 18 spaces, 12 by 18 handicap stalls with 5-foot aisles. These are not unusual. Those parking stall sizes are pretty standard throughout the state. That variance is also required to obtain the minimum necessary parking spaces to adequately park this site. Getting back to the ITE discussion earlier, and I'll be brief, but ITE doesn't put out a standard. What ITE does is they study what are the needs for different shopping centers, what's required. So they empirically go about this, okay? And they say these are the minimum requirements. When Councilman Beaverland was talking about traffic studies, one of the things that all traffic engineers, and in fact, all cities rely on in terms of their impact fees for transportation is trip generation rates. Well, the trip generation rates are also published by ITE. That's who puts them out. They are the Bible for trip generation rates and parking generation. So this is not,
Which a good attorney can turn upside down. I sat on the PBC, I was chairman of it, and they turned it upside down all the time. And after I complained for about a year, we never talked about traffic studies again.
well,
Can I just comment on that point? It's the real, it
Can he
is.
introduce himself so
Sure.
we know who he is? We don't. Just a word.
I'm David Mechanic, legal counsel.
Okay, I just,
Okay. Who we're reacting to is the retailers. We're reacting to what the retailer tells us they need. Just so happens that they use the same Bible as cities and everybody else that addresses the parking need. Please understand, I mean, if they said to me, we need 4 parking spaces per 1,000, guess what we're trying to get? I mean, it's,
I understand that, but I
so that,
understand-
I'm just responding to your comments about what we want. It's not what we want, it's what the retailer requires.
What size are they now?
What size are the spaces?
they vary. Some are 10 by 20, some are smaller, some are larger. It's just, I don't know how that parking lot was intended to be laid out. It was poorly restriped, so I'm not sure what's out there.
ITT in the Standard Bible, did they?
I'm sorry?
I have a question. I have a question for Marie.
okay, well, look, I'd like to let them finish.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
And then I'm trying to make notes for mine because I had a bunch of questions as well.
Getting back to the parking space size, this is something, again, that we need to have the reduction on in order to get the quantity of parking spaces needed to adequately park this property. Right now, today, the shopping center has a parking ratio of 5.08 spaces per 1,000 square feet. If you add in the Chili's property, it's 5.19 spaces per 1,000 square feet. Our proposal, including that 6,600 square feet, is 5.04 spaces per 1,000 square feet. We're already lowering it. We take out the 6,600 square feet, we'll reduce another 33 parking spaces.
The 6,600 square feet is A?
Yes.
The one on the left that they
Vacant
wouldn't build.
parking. I see.
So, but
For Chili's.
in reconfiguring the parking lot, since this parking lot does not meet code in terms of geometry, in trying to meet as much of that those geometric requirements as possible, the actual parking lot or what it takes up got larger. Okay, so you can, or the geometric requirements for each row of parking got larger, so we can fit less parking in there. And that's why we need to have the 9 by 18 parking spaces. Now, when we looked at using the 10 by 20 parking spaces in the 4 iterations we did before presenting to city staff, there was a difference of 50 parking spaces in there. So we had 50 fewer parking spaces in the main parking field using the 10 by 20 than using the 9 by 18.
And again, was that with or without the parcel?
That was with the 6,600 square feet.
So that would have been, so you really were only, whatever the math is, 20-something?
30.
We were 33, that's 33.
Yeah.
And you were 50 less, so you're really only 17, is that correct? Okay.
17.
Just,
Yeah. Now, the 3 code provisions that deal with parking, the one landscape island per 80 feet, which I think we'll be able to provide with the elimination of that 6,600 square feet. But certainly, the landscape divider medians and the parking stalls, if we were denied on those 2 variances, we would not be able to get sufficient parking for this shopping center.
I have a plan.
And so we need to have those in order to adequately park this. I think, Mayor, you had said earlier that the restaurants park at a higher rate. And that is the case, and that's also shown in the ITE parking generation information. So we can't apply that 4.4 thousand to the Chili's. And in fact, what we used was the low end of the quality restaurant at about 15 per thousand. The high end is like 18 per thousand, thereabouts. Now, the next variance request is to the impervious surface ratio. And really, that's just a recognition of the fact that this is an existing fully developed shopping center. And it was designed, permitted, constructed under the rules incorporated by city. A lot of those predate the current land development regulations and certainly the Tampa Road Overlay District. Again, the originally approved site plan had an ISR of 0.9. What exists there today is an ISR of 0.86. What we're proposing here is 0.83. And again, that difference of 0.03 is an increase in green space of 15,000 square feet.
But you had also stated it would be 0.81
or 82.
81 or 82, so it would go even lower if you
we're looking at,
didn't take that retail. Okay.
We'd have another 66, so we'd be over 20,000 square feet.
Just for clarity.
Now,
So each 1% is 5,000 square feet of.
4,870 something. The total property is 487,000 square feet. So 1% is 4,870 something square feet. It's pretty significant. Now, here, the difficulty in getting to a 0.7 ISR, let's just talk about from a baseline of 0.83, which is what is in our application. That 0.13% is almost 64,000 square feet of green space. There isn't 64,000 square feet of green space to be had on here. It just won't happen. The only way to get a 0.7 ISR on this property would be to demolish about 24,000 square feet of building, or actually 18,000 square feet of building once you less out that 6,600. And then you'd lose another 35,000 square feet in parking area to get to that.
This is just for comment. A lot of this has to do with new ordinances and new zonings that I would consider in a new development. And this is not a new development. This is a previous development, which falls. It's kind of like changing the rules in the middle of a football game, if you own the field.
Well, they're answering the question can't.
Yeah. And that's, to your point, that is why we can, is because we have an existing, we have constraints from the existing development that we have to deal with. So the 0.7 ISR is simply out of the question. It's just not achievable without tearing down, existing building.
Okay.
And finally, we're requesting a variance to the sign size for the proposed ROS. And that's been described in detail in the application package, why that variance is necessary and justified. We had some discussion of that earlier. Jim described the retail environment that we all operate in, and that bolsters the justification for this variance. What I would like to do, I'll wrap this up, but I would like Dave Mechanic to speak briefly about the, we're okay. And thus, it's our belief that the variance to the sign is both necessary and justified. And in closing, I'd like to thank you all. Let me do this because
let's at least show them what they're going to do.
I'm sorry, the whole presentation got chopped up, so I didn't get to these boards. But here we have the landscape plan of what would be out there. And of course, these are the proposed elevations. And you can see we've contrasted what's out there with what we're proposing. It's a clear and stark difference. We've come before staff and you in a good faith effort to solve the problem of what do we do with Forest Lakes Plaza. It is a problem. It's a complicated problem. It has a lot of issues with it. We are doing the utmost we can to solve this in a manner that is both acceptable to the city and acceptable to the retailers that will occupy the center. We have an opportunity to transform what is clearly an ugly duckling into a swan here. And in doing so, the applicant is ready, willing, and able to make a substantial investment in, obviously significantly upgrading the facade to conform with the city's Tampa Road overlay district, reconstruct the main parking lot to provide more efficient and safe on-site circulation, increase the overall green space, significantly increase the landscaping. I think there's 72 trees on site now. We're proposing to have well over 120.
Can I ask you something?
Certainly.
These palm tree, in the bottom part, the palm trees there, are those, where are they? I mean, are they part of the green spaces between the parking?
Sure, those are over here along this facade. So these 6 palms that you see here, I know they're difficult to see, but they're along the Forest Lakes Boulevard facade.
Oh.
This is the forest, basically from this point over is what directly faces on Forest Lakes, and then this part is what's behind.
I wouldn't pay a whole lot of attention to that kind of a landscaping, because it could be negotiated out.
Are we going to have a presentation by Drew as well?
We hadn't planned on it. If you have any questions on it, we'll be happy to answer them.
I'm sure you can answer the questions you have.
I think we're all going to want to just, you wanted to know about the palms. I would definitely like to know about the trees.
Are you pretty much done in the so we can ask questions of?
Yeah, I'm done. I think we just, respectfully request approval.
Mayor, I have one more question.
Sure. No, what I'd like to do is, because what we have to do is ask the applicant questions, and then staff gets to represent, and we can ask her questions at that time. But kind of what I think I'd like to do is just kind of work down the variances. I don't know that we have any questions on 1 through 3. Does anybody have any questions on? Because what we're being asked to do is approve the variances.
Well, I have a question on a possible variance. And my question is this. You can renegotiate with the planning to make a couple of islands. You will do that.
Yes.
You can, okay, that's my question.
Well, what I was going to do is try and go down through some of these. Item 4, which is permit the islands every 80 feet. You have said you could do that, but there was a case that stated the 160, and it appears like it's all the parallel parking that's there. Is that the 160 that they're referencing?
It is, and we will manage to get a landscape island in there to break that up as well.
I just didn't want for you to say you could do it, and then that wouldn't be there.
We'll make that work.
Any questions on variance number 4?
Okay, so permit the elimination of interior islands.
But we're not really granting it because they said they can meet
That's
it,
understandable.
so we're just basically removing in the variance.
So it's not, they don't need that variance anymore.
Yeah, right, correct.
Okay,
That's
fine.
If that's what they're comfortable with, that's fine.
Yeah.
The next one is permit the elimination of landscape divider medians between rows of abutting parking spaces. And I guess the question is, you're telling us that you can do that partially, I guess, by redistributing this 6,000 square feet. Is that correct?
That is correct.
We're not going to get all the way there.
We understand.
And even if we got all the way there on the front of the parking lot, the back of the parking lot, we can't do it.
Well, we
so.
know that.
Get back to the parking lot.
Right.
And I think staff has even acknowledged that. Does anybody have any questions about the dividers, or have they answered the questions
He's answered mine.
That was Jerry's question?
that they're going to do their best effort to try and accommodate that, and we appreciate that.
No, well, Linda and I both have questions about what they're going to put in those.
That's fine.
I think that's next.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, in question, are you talking about that? Well, let's go through, and then if we have any general questions. The next is reduce the size of the parking stalls from 10 by 20 to 9 by 18, and the handicapped as well. Just questions on that?
I just had a comment because I was trying to figure out, well, maybe if you reduce it to 18 in length, but you increase it to 10, you still would lose about 25 spaces probably. And if you're going to remove the 6,000 square foot building and you're going to lose 33, you could potentially lose 50 if you increase the width to 10. But if you didn't build the building and you kept it as green space, could you still do the parking around that? So in order to have the width be 10 and still have about 30 spaces, I'm sure they'll get used even if there's not a building there, if the parking lot's full.
Yeah, yeah, and I was thinking that those, well,
He didn't answer the
that's what I was
question.
going to ask.
Let him answer her question.
If it was a possibility, then that way maybe the spaces could be 18 in length, which it makes sense. You don't want to lose 2 feet but maybe, you only lose 1 or 2 spaces in a row by increasing it to 10. Because when I pull into a parking space, the width is more important to me than the length.
Absolutely. And I'll say that because I just got my car sideswiped by somebody either pulling in or pulling out of a spot. And I think if this was an office space where cars come in and they stay there all day long, that's not an issue.
And
But where they're in, the
different.
turnover is so significant.
Well, to your question, what I can tell you is I don't know the answer to that because we have to actually lay out the geometry. But we'll make every effort to do that, to go to 10 foot wide.
Yeah.
If we're okay with the 18.
If you'll allow us the variance, then we will come in and honestly make our best efforts.
And we'll work with
Some cases
staff.
We'll do 10, and some
Well,
cases.
I think what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to give you directive that we want 10 by 18 or we want 9 by 18, and you're going to have to make it work, or you're going to have to, I guess, ask for a parking variance and be whatever, what is it? 490 and be 488.
Is there any way, though, we could give them time to revise it? Not that obviously I want to get some things done, but
Yes, there's a provision in your code. And the provision in your code under 3.3.8 says, in the alternative to approving or denying the site plan, the council may, for the purpose of allowing the applicant an opportunity to address unsolved issues, continue consideration of the site plan. So.
Can we?
just
That's a good
potentially
idea.
that
Yeah.
they take the feedback and July 2nd, we make,
Can we approve all the variances
Yes.
except one? And leave one
I
outstanding?
don't want to be an inconvenience for
Couldn't really
people
do
and their
anything with the
schedules,
project.
and it's a holiday
I
week,
understand that,
but
but at least we could take those off.
nice
Well,
to.
I want to ask,
She'll come up there in a minute.
Yes, you
I
can
want to
do
ask
whatever
Marie
you want.
something.
Then they would come back for just the one variance. Or not, if they don't need to. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Right. Let me address your question, Mayor. We obviously are under some time constraints with the tenants. We're trying to get, to make a long story short, they have 2 opening windows within a given year. We're trying to make that opening window. So to be continued would be a real issue for us.
Okay.
What we would ask you to do then is to grant us the variance. We will commit to meeting with staff and getting as close to the 10-foot wide as possible in every
Some are
instance.
10 and some are smaller.
And
It doesn't
that-
have to be in every instance.
Well, what I'm saying is we're going to try to make it, we're not going to succeed. I know that
Well,
today.
well, I
in
have an
every
idea.
instance, but
So,
Make the ones closer to the building 10 and the ones farther away smaller.
Exactly,
yes,
because
actually,
and we can do that.
not all parking spaces are created equal. Because I'm serious, because one foot
Right.
further away.
right.
Can we get back to just questions on the particular parking? Because we're going to have to make a decision on either 9 by 18, and if you make your best effort, you make your best effort.
Are we fine with 18?
Well, I think that's the
Yeah,
discussion
I
we
don't
have.
care.
We just have to ask questions.
Okay,
And we'll
all right.
discuss it amongst ourselves as to how we feel.
Okay.
Comes up.
If we could,
Okay.
again, if we could,
Mayor,
I'm
to
sorry.
his comment, I want to ask Tom, how do we do this? He wants a variance.
You don't want to be doing something where they're just saying, well, we're going to give it our best shot.
that's-
You need to give them direction. You need to tell them one way or the other, you're going to grant this site plan, you're going to grant variances or partial variances, but you need to do that direction now, and it's not a matter of.
And if they come back with no 10-footers, they come back with no, because we've already approved it. Is
That's
that
right.
correct?
That's right,
So that's kind of dangerous.
right,
It is dangerous.
right.
Okay. Any other questions on variance number 6?
Well, it's not necessarily in size, but it does have handicapped in there. I was just curious, are there enough handicap spots according to, because there's only, appears to be 6 or 7, and I was just curious, because
Can we accommodate the handicap at the required size? After that?
7, 8, there's 8.
If you tell them.
Well, at least the width. The 18th, I understand, because you can't have a 20-foot and an 18-foot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you lose 3
Well,
feet. Yeah.
To answer your question first, yes, we have enough. It complies with ADA and the Florida Accessibility Code in terms of number. In terms of width, getting back to the whole stall space size, what we would request is to have that variance granted at 9 by 18. Again, I don't know
On the
what the
standard spots.
mechanism.
On the standard
yeah.
spots.
On the
Understood.
standard
But what
spots.
about on the handicap? You're requesting a 12 by 18. Can you accommodate a 15 by 18 on the, however, it's handful of,
I think we can do that, but that will push more spots to 9 by 18. Because you're taking width.
We're only talking about,
well, we're approving 9 by, we're either approving 9 by 18 or not. And if
Okay,
you
so
choose,
then yes, yes.
and if you choose to do 10,
Yes.
as many as you can,
By
and do the handicap, I mean, to
Then
me.
we'll do the handicap at 15 by 18 if we get 9 by 18 on the
They,
standards.
Okay, you can't negotiate with them. This
No.
is
No, I'm not negotiating, but we can.
quasi-judicial
Yeah, you
hearing.
are.
You need to hear the evidence and make a ruling one way or the other.
Okay.
You shouldn't be, can you do it, could you not do it? You know, this is something that you should be ruling on.
That's fine.
They need to tell you what they can do, and you decide whether or not that that's appropriate based upon your code.
And that's why I asked him, can they do the 15? And he said yes.
well, does it really need to be 15? Can it be 14? Can it be 13?
The code is 15. That's why.
I realize that, but they're asking for a variance.
I understand. Okay.
So-
Any more questions on item number 6?
No.
Of the applicant.
Not I. I want to talk to Marie.
Well, we'll have to, we have to close them out first. The next is item 7, increase the impervious from 0.7 to 0.83. You've addressed it and said that it may be lower than that, but you're asking for the 0.83. Are there any questions on that item?
I don't have any questions on that one.
Linda?
Yeah.
I mean, I see that they have it just doesn't seem possible to get it to the 0.7, but I'd want it to be as low as possible.
They're asking for 0.83.
I know. And
They've
I'm
said that they
wondering,
can get
is
lower.
that the best, I know it's not a negotiation, but the question I guess would be,
No, they've indicated that they may go as low as 0.81 or
Potentially, there could
0.82
be more greenscaped islands.
because of
Right,
the
right.
6,000. But they're
that's
asking
right,
for.
they're proposing 0.83, but it's going to go down, but it's only going to go down.
Well, they're not required.
No, the
If they go to
existing is
0.83, that's
0.86.
what we're approving. But they could go down.
Right here, without A, is 0.83, correct?
If I might ask a question, my understanding is there are 2 different things being approved here, or not approved. One are the variances, and one is the site plan. Is that correct? In terms of the variances, we are asking for 0.83. On the site plan approval portion of this, I'm telling you, we will be below that. So a variance may be approved at a 0.83, that would be the cap, the absolute top. We'll do better on the site plan.
Right, correct.
Okay, Tom?
Right, no, I understand all that. I understand all that.
But if you come back at a
My question is,
0.83, it's a 0.83. Right.
okay, and that, okay.
Yes.
Any other questions on that item?
No.
The next item is increase the size from 150 square feet to 368 square feet. Any questions on that? Not discussion, but questions.
Yeah, Tom.
Yeah, Tom, are we allowed to discuss it? I did have a question if we are.
Yeah, the Board of Adjustment wouldn't be able to do it. It's my opinion that you don't have the ability to do it. Your code prohibits it, and it's not something that you should grant a variance on. That's why I had rendered that opinion earlier. This is all as a direct result of, the billboard litigation that we did a number of years ago. Why is it appropriate to have a huge sign on the front of a building, but it's not appropriate to have it sitting 40 or 50 feet off the highway, up in the sky? If you want to change your code, you can change your code, and we could have 2 public hearings on it, and we can change your sign code, but my suggestion is you not do that. So,
See, they don't understand, I don't think, or
Oh, the billboard
they don't
issue?
understand.
Yeah,
They can't
how we
because-
came to this, yes.
Because they weren't here.
history on it.
Yes.
But the history of that was a lot of litigation from Clearwater, Pinellas County, and the city of Oldsmar, in Atlanta, Georgia, and after how many years?
We were the only ones that won.
We won.
We were the only ones that
It
won.
was over the size of the
Okay.
billboard.
Do we have,
Just render everything moot because Ross isn't going to come in if they can't have their big sign?
Mr. Chairman, may I address Mr. Trask's comments?
certainly?
Just very briefly. And I did speak with Mr. Trask yesterday, and with all due respect, I'd like to suggest that
Did you introduce yourself?
I did earlier, David Mechanic, for the record, attorney for the applicant. I believe that the sign is a use which is permitted in the zoning district. It is a wall-mounted sign which will be affixed to the front of the building. We're talking about the Ross sign in particular. it's a sign that's permitted in your code. We're asking for a dimensional variance so as to increase the size of the sign. In my opinion, and I'm offering this with all respect to your legal counsel, that is a variance that can be granted by this council because it is not a change of use. It's not like you're saying, we're going to put a factory in a residential zoning district. That would be something a variance could not do. This is simply a change of dimension and is a use that is already permitted, and we're just simply asking for an increase in size.
I have a question. You have a Ross over on 19, north of Tampa Road. You have a Ross down here at Memorial.
Town and Country.
And I guess that's Town and Country, yes. Is this sign, and everything sits back at both of those Rosses. Is this one going to be bigger than any of those?
No, it's prototypical. Same size. Same color, same script.
Gabby, are you talking about?
Okay, I see why you need it, you know, because you do sit back. And if it's the same as everybody else's.
I'm going to ask your attorney. I mean, let's don't make a decision right now.
I would just like to make one other point about that. I reviewed your entire code in connection with the authority to grant variances, and I saw nothing in there that would suggest that there's a certain group of activities that are prohibited from being varied from the code. It basically, the definition of variance says the Board of Adjustment and Council is authorized to vary from the code when the hardship criteria are met. There is the one exception. It says you may not approve a change of use through a variance. So I would suggest that you do have authority to grant the variance based on the fact that it's strictly a dimensional change.
If I could ask a question of you or the applicants, what is the hardship?
Sitting back from the road.
Not being able to see it from the road. To turn that way over.
No problem.
Okay.
The hardship is that the competitor or competitors in the marketplace, the same marketplace, have sizable signage advantages over the 150 square feet. Walmart, Target.
Target's not in Oldsmar.
Marshalls.
Marshalls is.
Yeah,
Target's not in
Walmart's
Oldsmar.
across the street, and they have a massive wall sign. Ross is simply coming to us and saying, this is our sign. We get this approved everywhere we go in the country. There's no reason we shouldn't have it here. We want to have the same competitive advantage as the other retailers in the marketplace.
Good question. Bruce?
I understand that.
Marshalls. Did Marshalls come in after our lawsuits?
Oh, yeah.
Wait a minute, I'm asking Bruce.
I think so.
Okay, so Marshall has that huge.
Well, I think these are questions we need to ask of staff to confirm if there were variances or anything on those particular. I have those questions of staff on those particular signs.
Well, this is what I wanted to ask Bruce, so we can ask staff. Okay.
Well, the only thing I would add is that if not for the ordinance, the overlay district, we wouldn't be talking about the variance. The sign would be up. So it's kind of counterintuitive, but there's really, the only reason I'm coming to you and asking for a sign variance, with due respect to the earlier comments, is because this is customary everywhere else.
And I appreciate your comment.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that Oldsmar is not any city USA.
I agree.
And it's why people want to come here, and it's why people are developing here. Case in point, Circle K down at the corner of Tampa and Racetrack Road, they wanted to come in with their prototypical store and use their canopy as an advertisement. We did not allow it.
Right.
Who's the other? Thornton's is coming in, and they are meeting our requirements.
Right.
We're not just steady city. That's why people are coming.
And I understand that, and I appreciate that. There are some differences. We are 600 feet off the road.
Understand.
They're right up on the road. You can see them clearly.
And I mean, in all honesty, I mean, I've been in the store in Countryside. I don't go there because I saw the sign. I know it's there. You see the sign on the marquee, you know, along the road, you know it's there.
And again, I'm dealing with the retailer.
Supposed to be watching the road driving, not looking at marquee, you know, at signs on buildings. So.
I'm just dealing with what the retailer requires. They will not, and frankly, no big box user, no retailer is going to come to this space because it sits back, because of the existing conditions, unless we can get a sign that is appropriate for the user. Granted, not all signs are 360 square feet. Ross's happens to be. Some of them are much larger. So my point is that if not Ross, who?
Sure, no, I understand.
If not now, when? When can we lease the space and do the improvements that we need to do to provide the type of project that is worthy of a community like Oldsmar?
And that's the decision before us tonight.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Thank you.
One more question to our attorney then. If the marshal's signage did not come before this council, the variances, and I'll ask Marie that, I don't believe that they had ever come before this council. So I need your opinion on the marshal sign coming in after our lawsuits on the signs, then come before the city council. Who okayed it?
I don't know how large it is. Maybe it meets the current code.
That's the question I have.
It's pretty large.
It is pretty big, but.
It's long.
When Marie comes up, she may be able to answer your question. I don't know the answer to the question.
But I just want to bring it up that when she comes up.
Tom, can you address Mr. Mechanic's comments that he made about his interpretation of our code?
Well,
And I don't want to turn this into a.
You know, I disagree. And that's why I talked to him on the telephone yesterday and told him the basis of the reason why we have this sign code and the reason that it reads the way that it does. And it's very, very specific. Any sign over 150 square feet is prohibited. It's just like anything else in the sign code that's prohibited. You know, off-premises signs are prohibited. So if you go down the list, those prohibited signs should not be allowed, no matter what. You know,
but they exist.
Excuse me. That's my opinion, and that's what I gave Mr. Mechanic yesterday when I talked to him on the telephone. You should not be allowing prohibited signs in your city. You adopted this code for the purposes of keeping out certain types of signs, and this is one of them. Sign over 150 square feet. So,
Mr. Trask, how do you address the existing signage?
Wait a minute. We'll talk about that when she gives that.
Yeah, but we have to finish with them.
That's what I just want to ask a question of the council and you, sir. How do you address the existing signage?
Mayor, I don't answer questions of the applicant. They can put on their case and they can have you can ask your lawyer to answer questions for you.
Okay.
Okay. They need to finish their case and your questioning. And
so there's no answer to the question, what about the existing signage out there on Tampa Road that exceeds 150 square feet?
That's right.
We're going to ask the question of staff. Because you're telling us that these signs are, but I don't have that information in front of me. Do you have sizes of the signs? I mean, I don't mean to.
It's not relevant.
It's not, okay.
You know, you don't grant a variance
Right, I
tonight
understand.
on the basis that somebody else had it.
Right.
That's not one of the factors that you look at.
We need to ask Maria that when she gets up.
When we did the Learning Center and we did the primary color sign, how does that differ?
It wasn't over 150 feet in size.
Fine, but it wasn't it didn't meet whatever our sign requirements were.
Because it was considered, they were considering it an advertisement as opposed to, is that correct?
It wasn't a prohibited sign.
Okay, that's the difference. Thank you.
Right.
There were just some people had a problem.
No, I was just curious.
On council.
Any other questions on items 1 through 8?
No.
Any other questions in general for the applicant?
No, I said it got there anyway.
Jerry?
Pardon
Janice, any?
No.
1 through 8 or any general questions?
No.
Landscaping, whatever you're
Well,
talking
yeah,
about?
landscaping.
Well, this is the time. These are the applicants, so we've got to ask our questions.
Well, can't they come back up?
Not once we're done with them. We can if we just so desire, but
I really don't think we should really get into the landscaping.
Sign thing doesn't work, then this is all.
Well, the landscaping is something that's, I mean, you can say, what are you going to put there? We're going to put trees or what kind of bushes? It's like telling them how to paint their building.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hey
well,
now.
Well,
we should be able to have some say in that, but I don't know whether it's gonna get to that if it's prohibited to have this sign, and Ross isn't gonna come in if they can't have their sign.
In other words, she's saying it's a moot point unless.
Right.
I can read
So I don't know if we.
Just so if we close.
What questions did you have on the landscape?
Let me introduce myself if you decide to ask a question. My name is Drew Copley. I'm the landscape architect on the project, and I'm from Palm Harbor.
Did he raise his hand?
Yes, I did initially when I was here. Yep.
Just protecting you.
Thank you.
So do you want to just do, because we don't have any, I have this that shows little circles for trees and stuff. Yeah.
Well, effectively, what we've done is all the areas that could be used as green space, the parking islands, the buffers, the other strips of green area that you see on there. We try to fit as many trees in there horticulturally as possible, meaning they're not overcrowded, they have room to grow and spread. There are different size trees. If I have a bigger area, there's a larger tree because there's more root area, those sorts of things. In the smaller fields, we've used flowering trees and other evergreen trees to provide that canopy or that feel of vegetation up above. Underneath all the trees, it's 100% planted in the islands. There is grass areas and other spots as well, but it's all impervious surface, or pervious, I'm sorry, so the water will go through it and you don't have that issue that was mentioned before. But the plantings are going to be, colorful plantings, something that's
Florida.
Beautiful plantings. We're going to just put shrubs and we're just going to put trees. I think that answers your question over there. But it's going to be ground cover that's natives. It's going to be long lasting. It's going to be easy to maintain. It's going to provide color and a lot of interest. So when you're driving down Forest Lakes or when you're on Tampa Road, it's going to be a very beautiful project. Obviously much better than what it is.
And no pampas grass.
I'm sorry?
No pampas grass.
I haven't used pampas grass since early 80s.
Good.
So, but the idea again is to use native materials that are tolerant to the existing soil conditions, the existing conditions that are out there, but also the fact that you have a lot of asphalt, it's going to be warm, it's going to be hot. So we need to select trees that are going to grow in that situation as well. But we want it to be very easy to care for. Obviously, it keeps the cost down, but the easier it is to care for, the better it's going to be and the longer lasting it's going to be as well.
Because it is important, because you go down, you see, the parking lots that are, like Marie said, the concrete jungles, they're terrible. I mean, they're terrible. They're ugly, and it looks to me like if you're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 trees in each of these, and you're gonna add some of the islands, you're gonna have 6 more trees in there, then.
The more islands, the more landscaping, the more trees you'll have.
Right, so when we add the islands, okay. I just wanted to make sure, because it's important.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I don't have any questions for him.
Any other questions at this time for the applicant? Thank you. Staff? Oh, I thought you were back there.
I was hiding, yes.
Boy, are you in trouble.
Jerry and I are chomping at the bit.
Well, we can either ask questions or if you have any comments in reference to what the applicant has stated.
Basically, I guess the main issue now is the signage.
It sounds like it's the biggest issue, I think.
Yeah, well, the Walmart sign was permitted before the issues with the sign code, and I think it's around 200 and something square feet. And also, they face Forest Lakes Boulevard, and I think they went to the Board of Adjustment for a number of variances, but not for really the size of the sign.
Yeah, but they're right on Tampa Road.
Yeah, but that was before we had the issues. The Marshall sign, I believe, meets code. I can't verify that, but we did not have them request a variance. As far as the Ross sign, we went on the internet and we wanted to find out, about these signs throughout the country. Well, there's a lot of issues with Ross signs. I mean, some communities objected to the size of the sign. They requested variances. In some cases, they said they couldn't go into the community, but, it wasn't a deal breaker. They did reduce the size of the sign. So I don't know. I don't think that every community in the country has this large sign.
Yeah, but
based on.
And how far are they from the road?
Well,
in these other communities,
For example, if you look out the window and you look at Goodwill's sign, can you see that sign? That sign's 100 square feet.
That was one of my questions because
But they're right on Tampa Road.
They're right on Tampa Road. Goodwill?
Yeah. They're right on Tampa Road.
Right, as opposed to
you should be able
600
to see
feet
them.
back.
Well, the applicant, if he wanted to meet the current regulations and demolish the building and move his building up forward, like Bay Arbor, then you wouldn't have that issue. But there's really no signs that I can think of
That is the ideal.
Let me ask you this, may I?
that are about 150 square feet or, exceed that, except like the Walmart sign, we did look at that. But I don't believe Marshall's is, but I can verify
This is
that.
pretty big.
But Marshall's is right on Tampa Road, so even if the sign is smaller, they do have a significant advantage. And that
Yes.
was one of the reasons why I was surprised that Ross wanted to come into Oldsmar, because there's a Marshall's a block away.
But
on
we're
Tarpon
farther than, just looking out the window, you can see the Goodwill sign. So if that's 100 square feet and we're, quite a distance from Goodwill, how big does the sign need to be, really?
I guess if he says it's not going to be any different than the other Ross signs around here,
But
then,
why do we want to have the same kind of sign that everybody
because
else?
they sit so far back.
We don't dictate what different companies have with their signs. I mean.
Yeah, and I don't really.
That's their signature, and I understand that. And the only problem with this one, this isn't existing, this development's been there for
Yes.
35 years. The only problem with this one is that it sets so far back in.
And I understand that. I guess the question is, our legal counsel has advised us that we should not grant a variance on the code that says that we can't, no signs are permitted above 150 square feet. And he's advised us that.
Well, I don't know, but Tom,
Well-
answer me this. There has been other instances where the signage did not meet the code. I mean, the code says you can only have this, you can only have this, but we have given variances at other times for signs. Now, wouldn't that fall under the same?
No, I don't think since I've been your city attorney for 17 years, I don't think that you've ever granted a variance on a prohibited sign.
Have we, Bruce?
I don't know about 17 years. Since this sign code was adopted, I don't believe that there have been any signs approved in excess of 150 square feet.
Nobody,
And I think your
I don't think anybody has come forward and asked.
We've had
Well,
many-
I'm sure they've asked,
Yes,
Yeah?
as
many
far
times.
as,
Not bigger for that.
applications for planning. They might not have come to the city council, and they would not go to the Board of Adjustment because the code that is in place hasn't always been that way. It's been in place for getting close to 10 years now, probably, at least 8 probably. And
04.
I don't believe that there has been any sign approved since this code was adopted in excess of 150 square feet.
How big is Walmart?
Walmart,
Before the code.
yeah,
Before the code.
Yes, yes.
Gotcha.
Tom,
before.
can I make a comment or only questions?
Only questions at this point, when you would save your comments when the
Council comments.
public hearing is
Yeah.
closed.
In the council discussion.
All right, I'm not really sure to ask it in the form of a question, so I will wait.
Any other questions of staff?
Oh, yeah, I have questions, but it's not about signage.
Well, this is the time to ask. them.
Okay. The parking. That parcel A, or whatever it's called,
Retail parcel
Yes.
A or pad A.
couldn't that be, couldn't that be 9 by 18 and used for overflow of chilies? And maybe, couldn't we do both? Do some 9 by 18s along the, that parcel, and maybe some others closer to Tampa Road.
But that's not the request. They said they would try.
They're trying to get X amount of parking,
The request is to
and
go.
they're trying to do it with green space.
No, I understand.
Okay.
But our request for the variance is for a 9 by 18. If they can accommodate or do something more and above that, which they have stated they would try, good for us. But we're asking to approve a 9 by 18.
But it doesn't have to be 9 by 18 all over.
The request is for a 9 by 18. It
All
doesn't-
over?
It doesn't, it's a 9 by 18 all over.
Because that's what the variance
That's-
states.
yes.
We can put our wishes in there, but what's on paper is what that variance is.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh, gosh.
They're not asking for a variance of one or two or an aisle. They're just asking for a variance of all of them. They've indicated that they would try, but if they don't, they don't. And
they agreed to keep the handicap at 15 instead of 12 by us. Even though I know we can't negotiate, I'm just saying that.
Yeah, does it really need
The
to
give and
be?
take.
No, we can negotiate though.
Yeah, we can approve, we can tell whatever variance, and they would have to abide by it.
Does it have to be, okay, do the handicap spaces have to be 15 by 20?
That's the code requirement, but they're asking, for variance to
I mean,
reduce that.
but could they get away, how many feet are they asking, 12?
What's that?
12 feet by 18 feet for the handicap.
But if somebody had a wheelchair, like if they had to pull that out, they probably need 5 feet on top of what our normal parking space
And if they have the lift, the lift van and the.
I don't know, I was over in,
They've
the
indicated
Publix on what's his name?
There's only 8.
There's only 8, and
There's
they've
only
indicated
8.
that they could accommodate it, so we might as
Rather
well take
have
it.
more 18-footers than give away any of the handicap space.
They can accommodate the 15, so we take it.
Said they
and
could
keep
accommodate
code.
it.
I know what they said.
15.
I know they said
She's saying
that.
though she'd rather have the 10 in width versus.
But you're talking about hundreds of spaces as opposed to 8.
Right.
Yeah.
So they can't accommodate it in every space. They're gonna try.
I know that, that's why I'm saying, if we can reduce the handicap to say.
Then more they would be able to increase.
13 or 14 by 18.
Yeah, but there's only 8
It's
of
not
them.
gonna give them,
It's not gonna give them much, there's only 8 spaces.
yeah, you're gonna gain 8 feet.
So
There's
8
hundreds of
times.
spots.
Yeah,
Yeah.
16 feet. We've gained 16 if you did it.
Any other questions of
I
staff?
do, I have a question. What is your answer or response to the whole thing about not being able to reduce the ISR to 0.7? What is your take on that?
Well, the code requirement is 0.70, and we felt that the applicant wasn't making an effort to try to mitigate, or provide more green.
And where do you think
Yeah, we
they
have to have
could,
green.
now based on seeing all of
But
this?
once he said that, and they're going to, provide additional interior islands,
Okay.
et cetera, it might get closer. Maybe he could use some kind of pervious pavement material somewhere or something, I don't know.
Like the,
I don't ever see, realistically ever see us getting to the 0.7 on this site plan?
Probably not.
So we're gonna have to grant a variance
Right.
of some type.
right, okay.
Okay. Any other questions on any of those items or any?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If we grant a variance on that, couldn't we, would they be okay with doing some of them 9 by 18 and some of them 10 by 18? Would it be?
But that's not the request. The request is only for 9 by 18.
But I'm asking, would they be okay with it?
With what?
In other words, changing their request.
Can they do that? That's the request. I mean, and say.
Can they do that
but they
right
don't know how
here
many they-
and now?
But they have no idea how many they could
No, they have
promise
to
us.
resubmit the variance, don't they?
I mean, they've already asked for
I'm
this
just trying to
variance.
work with the people.
I understand that, but
I mean, they're gonna try, but they haven't reworked it with the 6,000 square feet in the island, so they don't have any idea what it's gonna shake out like.
we have to approach the
Sorry?
variances as they are presented to us tonight.
Need to finish the questions.
Any other questions? Because we've got to get to the public. Any other questions of staff?
No, not
Thank
that
you,
I can
Marie.
think of now.
We made Jerry wait.
This is a public hearing. Do we have any proponents? Those in favor, proponents that would
The
like to speak?
girls are here from Munchies.
I'm asking for proponents, I know. Okay, do we have any opponents? Those against? Mr. Walters?
I don't know if he was sworn in.
Were you sworn in? Yeah, he stood up. I saw you stand up.
Yep.
He was hidden back.
Raised my wrong hand, but I changed back. I had the book in my right hand. And I'm not against them doing anything against over there, against the project that they're trying to do, but I do have some problems with what they're presenting, and it bothers me. We've had our thing with the parking stalls for the longest time. When I was there for the Board of Adjustments and the board, or the planning board, and there's always been commitments to try and change it. Well, but what bothered me is if they're looking at this and they want to try and do something, or the council wants to try and do something, then you should change the whole thing to 9 by 18. But the way it's been going, it's only variances that have been changing it to 9 by 18, and we've had a lot of that happening. And it really it bothers me, the concern that it's been happening.
It's more, you're saying it's becoming more the rule than the exception? Is
Well,
that-
it has before the Board of Adjustments has. And there's been a lot of items that have come before the Board of Adjustments that have done that. I am against the 9 by 18 because of the problem with people getting in and out of cars. I've always said if you're gonna do anything with it, change our code. And if you don't change the code, then you should leave it at 10 by 20. The other item I have, or not other, there's a couple of them. The idea of the wall signs, we did have an issue with a wall sign over on Raleigh. They wanted to put it at 22 feet, but it was a small sign. It wasn't a big one. And the idea was 16 feet, and we allowed it to come another 3 feet, and it still was in good shape. But the idea is that the 34 feet, and the idea of raising the building height to 45 feet, planning board, or Board of Adjustments, had a hotel come before them, and that particular area was they wanted to go up four floors, and actually everything in the whole area was 3 stories or lower, and that was a problem. But the idea of going to 45 feet, that just will be something that appears to be different in the whole area there. There is one other issue.
Jerry,
Yeah.
if you're driving down Tampa Road, you won't know whether it's 35 feet or 45
That's
feet. I'll
right.
guarantee it.
Well, I'm afraid I know a lot of it. I do know a lot of it,
You
unfortunately.
have a lot of negative votes on the parking thing, but you'll never be able to tell how tall that
Tall
thing
it
is.
is.
You'll
Yes.
never be able to tell.
I'm sorry, but I've received a whole bunch of things through one of the Board of Adjustment people that came before us and gave me about 50 or 60 pictures, and they had the distances on them. But that's something else. Sure. There is one other item, if I
That far
might.
away, when it's 600 feet away, Jerry.
Let me finish. Let me finish. The idea of the print that they're showing up here, when it came before the Board of Adjustments or the Planning Board, either one, I'm not sure at this point, there was another building that was set in there, so I'm not really too sure that they're showing the whole picture of what's going on, because where the barber shop and the bank is, they were going to put what do you call those stores in there? They had about 4 or 5 of them they were going to put in on this side, on the west side of where the bank is, and that's not really shown on the print. And I didn't know if they were going to be doing anything with that, or if that's going to be coming up at a later point.
I don't believe that's part of it. That's not part of the site plan request.
Well, no, but it was when they presented this to either the Planning Board or the Board of Adjustments. So I'm just bringing that forward, okay? And I will go sit down and not say anything else.
Thank you, Jerry.
You've been here in a while.
Oh.
We kept him here a while.
Isn't this the fella that keeps coming up here every meeting and complaining about the
Forest
Winn-Dixie?
Lakes? Yeah, he's an opponent. Yeah, he's an opponent.
Part of what I'm doing up here?
That's a good point, Jerry.
Any other opponents? Those opposed? Any other opponents? Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Staff, do you have anything additional to add? We've kind of done you out of order. You're fine.
You guys have no opinion?
But I'm not gonna say them.
But too late now.
She doesn't want it to be on record.
I'll sit back here and.
Are we approving the site plan and then the variances, or does it?
Are we having discussion before
Well,
we?
like we need a motion first to discuss.
Yeah. What you need to do is to go through the staff recommendation, and my pages are out of order now at this point.
Yeah.
Staff recommendation is on page 7 of the staff report, I believe.
There we go.
Find any of those?
Of the staff report?
Yeah, it's page 7. The recommendation is there.
Well, I'll make a
Okay.
So those are
motion
the
to-
issues that you need to address, not necessarily you have to follow along with staff approval, but
Can we do it?
So we're looking at the variances, so we can make our own modification and approve 1 through 8, 1 through 6, 1 through 7, 1.
I will make a motion that we can approve 1 through 3 because staff does.
Break it up like that?
And we suggested that earlier.
Okay. A motion, do I have a second for 1 through 3? Or how about 1 through, can I make that?
I'll second.
Because 4, I think they've agreed to, so you could
Well,
even do
4
1.
we'll be getting rid of because they agreed to it. So why would we agree to
Oh,
removing
correct,
it?
you're correct.
Yeah, we have to do that separately.
Yeah,
Anyway, my motion
Yes.
is 1 through 3. to accept.
Motion and a second.
I'll second.
Motion and a second.
All right, so let me just make it clear then. So right now, you're in agreement, you're going to approve a variance request to reduce the western landscape buffer from 5 feet to 4.5 feet.
Well, we haven't voted yet, but.
I understand
Yeah.
that. Now, I just want to make sure everybody
Sure,
understands the
correct.
motion. That you're going to increase the building height from 35 feet to 45 feet, and that you're agreeing to a variance to increase the height of a wall sign from 16 feet to 37.34 feet. That's this motion right now that you're considering,
That's correct.
okay?
We have a motion and a second. Do we call rolls individually?
My suggestion is yes, then you
Okay.
know what the vote is on everybody.
That's fine.
Yeah.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Beverly?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Miller?
Aye.
Councilmember McGee?
Yes.
Councilmember Norris?
Yes.
Mayor Beavis?
Yes.
Motion is approved and variances 1 through 3 are granted.
1 through, I thought we were doing each one.
No, we lumped 1 through 3 together. 1, 2, and 3 together. That
We
was
got the
motion.
easy out of the way, because everybody
By
agrees
reading
on
it.
the first 3.
Staff recommends approval of 1 through 3, and that was the motion.
And 1 through 3 is
That's what he just
10
read.
by 20 feet.
No, that's
No.
that's number 6.
1 through 3, right here. 1, 2, 3. Don't be hanging under that. That's staff recommendation.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay,
So we've addressed 1 through 3. That passed 5-0.
And
yeah,
Do we have a
okay.
motion on any other of the variances?
Well, wait, on item 4,
We wanna remove
they've
it?
agreed to the 80 feet, so I would make a motion that we,
Remove it.
that we.
Deny the variance.
Deny this.
Yeah,
one.
just
Deny the
deny the
variance.
variance,
Yeah,
right.
deny the variance. I make a motion, we deny it.
Do we have a second?
I will second that.
Motion and a second.
All right, now let me just get this clear for the record then. The motion is deny the variance for permitting the elimination of the interior islands every 80 feet.
Correct.
Okay.
Have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Beverly?
Yes.
Councilmember, Vice Mayor Miller?
Aye.
Councilmember McGee?
Yes.
Councilmember Norris?
Yes.
Mayor Beavis?
Aye.
Variance to permit the elimination of interior islands every 80 feet is denied with 5 votes for and 0 against.
Next items,
On-
individually or?
Individually, yes.
On number 5, they've agreed to put some mediums in.
Depending if they can when they
Right,
reconfigure
right.
it, yes.
So I would make a motion to deny number 5.
Well, it
because-
wasn't really depending, they actually said they would.
But
Well, no,
No.
but they have said that they would try.
Yes,
But
we-
this thing is asking for them definitely.
if you
And
vote,
they-
if you vote no, you're saying that they need to put landscape divided medians behind the building, including,
No.
In the-
Is that true?
No, because abutting is when they're like this, there's no
There's a
abutting
budding in the
behind
back.
them.
Yeah, there is a budding in the back.
behind.
Yeah.
yes.
And they have indicated that they would try to accommodate it.
They said they wouldn't be able to do it behind the building, but they said
Staff
they
has
would
agreed to
try
that.
if they could in the,
It's fine with me.
And I'm fine with that. And they're going to make their effort, but if their effort fails.
Okay. Can somebody make
so I
that
will make a motion that
Here,
we
but, yeah.
approve number
Okay,
5.
There's a motion to approve
I'll second.
item 5. We got a second. Motion and a second. Please call the roll on
Oh,
item.
let me
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead and
I'm
read
just
it.
trying to be consistent here.
That's fine.
So the variance that you're considering right now, and the motion is to approve or permit the elimination of landscape divider medians between rows of abutting parking spaces.
Yes.
That's correct.
Okay.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Beverly?
This is to approve, yes.
Vice Mayor Miller?
Aye.
Councilmember McGee?
Yes.
Councilmember Norris?
Yes.
Mayor Beavis?
Aye.
But I'm gonna hold them to, they said they were gonna add some, so you guys all have said it on record.
Yeah.
Number 5, to permit the elimination of landscape divider medians between rows of abutting parking spaces is approved with 5 votes for and 0 against.
Do you want to do item 6 individually?
Well, I had a question, Tom, about item 6 because it's 2 in the same variance. And we basically
If you want to break it up into two motions, we can do that.
Okay.
Can we approve it as one motion with 9 and 18 and 15 by 20 as one? Can we have- Well, the motion could be that.
But I think we said 15 by 18.
I'm sorry. Oh, 15 by, yeah, you can change, we can
18,
change it however we want.
Okay, well, yeah, that was
on
what
the
we had
handicap,
talked
right.
about.
9 by 18 and 15 by 18 can be the motion if that's so desired.
Is that your motion?
Yeah.
That's my motion,
I'll
yes.
second.
Motion and a second. Go ahead.
Okay, let me just get this right then. So the current motion is to approve the variance that would reduce the size of the parking stalls from 10 by 20 to 9 feet by 18 feet.
Yep.
And to reduce the handicap stalls from 15 by 20 to 15 by 18.
Yes.
Right.
Everybody in agreement?
Well, I just want to hold them to, again, that they're going to do as many 10 by 20s that they
10
can.
by 18s.
10 by 18s that you can. So even though
Yep.
I will vote this
And
way.
we understand,
I
it's
want-
how you can't sit here tonight and engineer.
I know, but
yeah.
I want to look them in the eye, and I wanted to, I want them to look me in the eye, so.
We have a motion and a second, please call the roll.
Councilmember Bieberman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Miller?
No.
Yes.
Council.
Well, you looked right at me.
Councilmember Mickey?
Yes.
Councilmember Norris?
Yes.
Mayor Beavis?
Aye.
Variance number 6, to reduce the size of parking stalls from 10 feet by 20 feet to 9 feet by 18 feet, and reduce the size of handicap stalls from 15 feet by 20 feet to 15 feet by 18 feet is approved with 4 votes for and 1 against.
The next variance is number 7, increase the impervious surface ratio from 0.7 to 0.83.
I'll make the motion.
Motion, do I have a second? Have a motion and a second?
Hold on a second now.
Yep.
So the motion is to approve the variance, increase the impervious surface ratio from 0.70 to 0.83. Okay.
Call the roll, please.
Can I ask a question, or did I miss question time on that one?
We have a motion and a second, you can discuss.
Okay. The whole thing about making green space into the one section, that's automatically going to eliminate it. Do we have assurance somewhere that that is going to happen? Or could this all of a sudden become a parking lot and then boom, we're back up there?
We approved the site plan. That's the way it is in the site plan. That thing's gone. It's green now.
And they're going to just redistribute that.
Okay, so we've already approved the site plan, but they have it in there.
We have
Is it
not
gonna be-
approved the site.
Oh, we haven't, okay, good, that's my question, okay, thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Bieberland?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Miller?
Aye.
Councilmember Mickey?
Yes.
Councilmember Norris?
Yes.
Mayor Beavis?
Aye.
Variance number 7, to increase the impervious surface ratio from 0.70 to 0.83 is approved with 5 votes for and 0 against.
The next variance is increase the size of the wall sign in the commercial zone district from 150 square feet to 368 square feet for a shopping center in the C2 zoning district. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'm going to second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion.
I had some discussion. The reasoning for why I had a motion is if you look at the size of the Aldi sign, it's only 90 square feet. So if we're only giving them 60 square feet more, I mean, try to put the Aldi sign on the Ross sign and see if you can fit Ross Dress for Less in there. I mean, it's impossible. And I know that the Aldi signs are generally smaller, and, you know, I've seen the one on 19, and I happened to pass by the Ross Citrus Park yesterday, which I am assuming is a standard size sign, but I would be an assumption. And it was set back, and I don't even think it's set back as far back as the Forest Lakes one is at Citrus Park. So
Yeah, it's about the same.
but I did just want to make that comparison that it would be hard for me to see giving only 60 more square feet to the Aldi sign for Ross. And in the other aspect, the size of the space for the sign is fairly large. So I didn't really see a problem. I think if it was only 150 square feet, the scale of the sign to the actual space for the sign might look kind of bizarre. And that was just my comment to think about. So
I agree.
And
I'm sorry.
the only other thing I was going to add is I do understand that Marshall's is a direct competitor. That came across my mind. And they are directly on Tampa Road, a block away. And I just don't want to set a business up for failure, because then we'll be here again in 5 years with a business that's moved out of the city because, you know, they didn't have the visibility or they didn't have the same advantages as a competitor. And so that's all I have to say. about.
And I mean, I think I understand, the applicant's request for the variance. I guess, again, my question just rolls back to, A, precedent setting, and B, our obligation to adhere to our code. And our code says 150 feet. Apparently, according to staff, we have not approved any signs since the code over 150 feet. Our legal counsel is advising us not to approve a sign over 150 feet based on our code. I mean, I'm not questioning the size of the sign, but
Right.
our own legal counsel is telling us that.
You're just summarizing.
What is our legal exposure if we do deviate from the code?
There's no legal exposure other than the fact that you're going to have the next applicant come and say, well, you did it for.
Yep, understood.
So it's
this one.
precedent.
And although you're really not supposed to consider that, that's what you're going to hear.
The other question I had was if we declined this variance, with the potential that it comes before us, say, at the next meeting, if the tenant would potentially be willing to reduce the sign, not to 150 square feet, I mean, that's not what I'm suggesting, but if they'd be willing to give at all, because we are,
Tom's point is, it doesn't matter if they reduce it to 151.
I'm just saying.
No, I understand, but I mean, deviating from the code is deviating for the code, whether it's 151 or 7,050.
A variance is a variance, yes.
But I'd be curious what the size of the Goodwill sign, you said is 100 square feet?
100 square feet.
Obviously thinking if that was set even further back.
Sure.
But
I'm still bothered by Tom's recommendation too. I mean, if we're not even supposed to grant a variance on this, why are we even discussing it? Like you said, what is prohibited? Define prohibited for me.
It's not allowed pursuant to your code, and the reason you're hearing it is because the application was received and they have the opportunity to bring it to you for your consideration.
They're asking.
And, and this is a quasi-judicial proceeding, so you're going to have to hear the testimony and evidence, look at the code, and make that determination based upon what you believe the evidence shows.
So I guess my question is what is the difference between this being prohibited for our code and just a variance of all these other variances? Why did you single that one out as a non-issue,
Because none of the others are prohibited. They're all different code provisions that you have the authority to vary. And this is the only one that you don't.
we don't have the authority to give a
You have your
variance?
code saying that it's absolutely prohibited to have a sign over 150
So
square feet.
that's what really confuses me, Mayor.
Well, what he's saying is, it's like the parking stalls. It's not saying that they're prohibited to go 9 by 18.
No, but he is. He's saying this is a different case.
What I'm saying is the other variances, there is the flexibility to vary from them. For instance, the parking spaces and,
Right, but not this one.
There's not on this one, is what he's saying, correct.
Tom, I think the city, I think we have the ability to give a variance on anything we want.
Yeah.
To a point, but just because you're saying that it's in there that we cannot give a variance on this.
No, the code doesn't provide that. The code just says that a sign over 150 square feet is prohibited within the city. There's no code provision that says that you cannot grant a variance because of the fact that it's prohibited.
Right.
Yeah. And,
But it then becomes precedent setting and.
Well, we do that all the time.
How many big boxes are we going to have? Come
Well,
on.
wait a minute. We do that, let me get back to our code says that our parking places are 10 by.
You don't want to do that.
10 by 20 feet.
No, right.
That's what our code says. They're 10 by 20 feet. We're giving them a variance. 9 to 18.
Yeah.
Right.
Why is it apples and oranges?
what you're saying on that point.
Yeah, see, I don't, now I understand how Tom feels because of this lawsuit we went through.
Yeah, but those are billboards. These aren't billboards. These are on buildings.
Well, it's really a legal point.
Yeah.
Using your example, there's nothing in the code that says 9 by 18 spaces are prohibited.
Yeah, no, I understand that too, but I still believe we can give a variance. He has said we can, and there's not a legal fee. There's not a legal problem with it. That's just.
But it's precedent setting.
You know what the only problem I have?
I have no idea. I have a feeling I'm about to find out.
I don't think I have ever went against, and I almost feel guilty if I go
That you're
against Tom
saying, that you're
tonight.
thinking yes.
You won't speak to me if I go.
You don't make your decision based upon making me happy. You make your decision based upon the evidence and testimony that you hear and what you believe is the appropriate thing to do.
See, that's probably what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to go against what you say. But I respect you
I understand. I appreciate that
way
fact.
high. I really do. And I mean, and we've known each other for a long time. And I don't want you not to speak to me.
Tom, I have a question.
Please.
Is it possible
This
to?
has to do with the city of Oldsmar.
To vote, obviously you vote on these
Not
other variances.
your relationship.
Hold on, Jen.
I know that there's a timeline here, but potentially postpone variance number 8 to the next meeting if they have the opportunity to go back to the tenant and suggest a slightly smaller sign.
You have the
Even though
right
it's
to do
still-
that.
We have the right to do that.
I think
Because-
that's a great idea because,
But they won't do it.
Well,
Well,
but
that we
have-
can offer
We can
it.
ask, it's, and if they say no, then we vote on it at that time.
Well, ask your question again?
That they have the opportunity to go back to Ross and see what they would be willing to do on the size of the sign and.
But
By
they
lowering.
indicated, and we've already closed that part of it, that they, as of timeframes,
Yes.
if we deny it tonight, there may not be a
They
second
can't
swing
do
at the,
that.
at the
talking
vote.
2 weeks.
We have to vote on this tonight.
I know.
But they have a
that's why I was saying
time
if
frame
it was
that they
possible
have to do
postpone.
something in the next
Well, that should
few
not.
days.
Right, I
should
don't think,
not-
I don't think 2 weeks is gonna make or break a project like this.
Obviously, their time thing cuts off before 2 weeks.
We
Can,
we shouldn't even consider that, their timeframe.
Right, and Marie did say that they've made exceptions before and
It would
made
be
the sign
nice to know
smaller.
too, by the next meeting, what size the Marshall sign is in square feet. I mean, it would just be nice to have additional information.
It would be.
On other buildings before we vote on this particular issue. I'm just.
well, and I mean, as evidence, that's something that the applicant could have brought to us and not just told us that they are, and I'm not saying things, but I mean, if they truly wanted us to know, they should have told us how big it was, My question is, there was a statement made about the overlay district. Would this sign be permitted anywhere else in the city of Oldsmar, anywhere in the city of Oldsmar? Or is it just in the,
This is in the commercial zoning district. This is where this particular provision.
is there any place else in the city of Oldsmar,
I'm
for
not
whatever
sure.
reason?
I'd ask Marie.
Am I allowed to?
Because I didn't read the rest of the zoning districts on the. on
The overlay
signs.
district really has nothing to do with this sign request,
Okay, that was the statement that was made, but is there any place
Nothing
else?
to do with it. So, and the 150 square feet for the limitation of the size of the sign is throughout the
It's
city.
citywide,
It
it
is.
is not.
Is it citywide?
Yes.
Okay, that's my,
That's in industrial also.
Yes.
Okay.
okay. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
This is the motion to postpone the.
No, it's
No, the
there was a
motion is-
motion
You had a
to
motion.
vote
To
on it
approve.
Yeah, we did. We had a motion and a second to discuss.
on number 8 tonight.
Do you have a motion and a
Oh, that's
second?
right.
Yeah, I made the
Because Gabby
motion.
made that.
Yeah, we made the motion and
second.
the second, so we can discuss it.
That's right.
Oh,
We haven't
okay, I'm
called the
sorry,
roll.
I'm sorry.
But we haven't called the roll.
I got you.
Any other discussion on this item? If this item fails, can we make another motion?
Then it just fails. So I'm going to go ahead and read the motion. Increase the size, it's the motion to approve the increase of the size of the wall sign in a commercially zoned district from 150 square feet to 368 square feet for a shopping center in the C2 zoning district.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Yes, I want to change seats with either you or Linda.
You gotta have the courage of your convictions there, Jerry.
Motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
I've always stood up to him.
Councilmember Beaverland,
With apologies to my incredible city attorney, I vote yes.
Vice Mayor Miller,
Aye.
Councilmember McKee,
Yes.
Councilmember Norris,
No, sorry.
Mayor Beals.
Aye.
Okay.
Variance number 8, increase the size of a wall sign in a commercially zoned district from 150 square feet to 368 square feet for a shopping center in C2 zoning district is approved with 4 votes for and 1 against.
The other thing that you need to address tonight is there needs to be a motion to approve the site plan as amended. Have you got the amended site plan that they referred to tonight?
No, I do not.
Okay, so we just need to make absolutely clear that the site plan that we're talking about, that you're approving, would be to take out.
Does that have an,
Okay,
Can we, it's to identify it, somebody's going to need to make the motion to exclude that, to exclude it as development? Is that what we want, as retail?
I'll make that motion.
And to redistribute that green space?
Yes, I'll make that
that-
motion for sure.
to redistribute the green space
to make-
throughout the parking lot?
Yes, correct.
Yes, that was gonna.
I'll go for that.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
So the motion then would be to approve the site plan to reconfigure the parking lot, demolish 2,797 square feet of an existing building, renovate the building facades, and install landscaping, but deleting whatever that thing is called there. I'm sorry.
Phase
A, was it called, guys? Retail.
two retail A.
Phase 2 retail A.
Okay, so that would be the motion then, if that, to approve.
Right, and I have a question.
Well, hold on, we have a motion.
Is that your motion then?
Is that
That's my motion, but is this gonna approve everything else on the site plan or just this portion of it?
It's going to approve the site plan
Site
as.
plan. As amended.
Let's get the motion in a second, and then we can discuss.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Motion, we have
I
a
got
motion.
the
Do we have a
motion in a
second?
second.
We have a motion in a second, now discussion.
Okay, now my question is this approving everything else on the site
What's
plan?
your question of, what is everything else that you're asking about?
The configuration of the parking, because we're gonna be doing all this different stuff with the parking now. Adding.
Site
more.
plan with variances that we've approved tonight.
Site plan with variances that we approved tonight.
Yes. Right.
Okay,
As
great.
amended.
Perfect,
As
thank
amended.
you.
So
Yes.
that,
I make that
means,
motion.
to be clear, that means A is going to be parking places.
No, it's gonna be redistributed
Space.
throughout. They're gonna take that green.
Yeah.
It could be green and parking, it depends on how they reconfigure it.
Okay.
Right.
That's
Gonna increase the green space.
Yes, that's all I care
However the
about.
layout works to redistribute that green space and put parking or whatever,
That's all I care
Yes.
about.
and meet the parking code requirements and blah, blah, blah.
Okay, okay.
We have a motion and we have a second, is that correct? We have a motion and a second, please call the roll.
Councilmember Beverland?
I don't want to be seat one anymore.
He won't be in 2 more years. Thank God,
You
no.
can set the tone.
Councilmember Miller, or Vice Mayor Miller?
Aye.
Councilmember McGee?
Yes.
Councilmember Norris?
Yes.
Mayor Beavis?
Aye.
Site plan as amended is approved with 5 votes for and 0 against.
Okay, you're done.
Wow.
That was quick.
Can we take a break? That was quick. Thank you.
When do you start?
Is it done yet?
Hold you guys to it. You guys look me in the eye and I'm gonna hold you to.
That's out of our hands.
Now, Tom, I had printed out just some photos of different color tones. Am I able to? Yeah. Or is it too late? Just as ideas.
Hey, guys.
Okay.
I meant no disrespect.
Oh, I know, I understand.
Well, colors.
Thank you.
Can, you said something
to
about.
Or you can have them.
I'm
Okay.
serious.
Just as ideas for colors.
I'll tell you what colors.
Nice to meet you, Jim.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
We got to go on with the.
We got,
What
yeah.
happened?
You go on.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're very welcome.
Ready to go?
Thank you, yep, item 8.
Next item is a public hearing and consideration of the Hayes Park Cottages Development Agreement. The first public hearing was held on May 7th. There have been some changes to the development agreement since the first public hearing. I would not consider any of them material. I'll mention just a few of them, unless you want me to go down the whole list. The legal entity entering into the development agreement has been changed. Mr. Hughes has created an LLC that will now be the developer of the project. And so it's Hayes Park Development LLC as the developer. The properties will have individual water meters instead of a master meter for the entire project. And as I said, there are a number of other changes. If you want me to go through the list, I'll do that. I don't consider any of them material, and we are recommending that you approve the development agreement for Hayes Park Cottages this evening. This is a public hearing.
Thank you. Staff, do you have any presentation?
No, we're recommending approval of the development agreement.
Does the applicant wish to? Nope. This is a public hearing. Do we have any opponents? Any opponents? Those against? Do we have any proponents? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. I need a motion to approve.
You got it.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
A motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Beaverland?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Miller?
Aye.
Councilmember McKee?
Yes.
Councilmember Norris?
Yes.
Mayor Beavis?
Aye.
The development agreement for Hayes Park Cottages is approved with 5 votes for and 0 against.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The next item, consider approval of an interlocal agreement with Tarpon Springs for the Employee Wellness Center. The council's been briefed and given a presentation on this previously. The Wellness Center is for all the participants in the employees' health insurance program, including primarily employees, but also dependents and retirees who choose to remain participants in the plan. This interlocal agreement has already been approved by the City of Tarpon Springs. The wellness clinic startup cost will be underwritten by the Florida Municipal Insurance Trust. Y'all are aware that we have health insurance through the Florida Municipal Insurance Trust, part of the Florida League of Cities. This is a 3-year agreement, and we would be committing to continue to purchase our health insurance for employees through the FMIT. The cost of the Wellness Center will be split 70-30, Tarpon Springs with 70 and Oldsmar with 30, based on the number of participants who would be eligible to participate. A major benefit for employees that we think would definitely encourage utilization of the Wellness Center is they would not be required to pay a co-pay when they visit the Wellness Center. They can go during working hours. They would have an appointment. They will be able to obtain prescriptions. Not everything, but many prescriptions there. No co-payment on those as well. I think that, well, we have representatives from the Florida Municipal Insurance Trust here this evening. Mr. Braithwaite, who has been our primary project manager on this endeavor up to now. And the city attorney, I'm not sure if you wanted to add to that or not, Al.
I need to add something.
Tom does.
Yeah. I just wanted to let you know that there has been one small change in the agreement that's in front of you. The last sentence of paragraph D on page 7 has been changed to read, and I'm just going to read it out loud. For all such coverage years except for the initial year of this agreement, when no wellness center data existed for rate-setting purposes, the FMIT will compute city's health insurance premiums in accordance with the standard industry practices and its normal underwriting practices, including factors for customary health claim costs, insurance administrative costs, and the wellness center facility costs paid by FMIT. Any reduction in the customary health claim cost factor arising from the city's usage of the wellness center will be reflected in the computation of the city's annual health premiums. So that was the one change that was made just prior to Tarpon Springs approving the agreement. I was at the city commission meeting in Tarpon Springs when it was approved. A lot of debate on this particular issue. It was approved by them 3-2. And the main concern that Tarpon Springs was having, at least their residents were having, is that the Helen Ellis Hospital, which is now Florida North Pinellas, basically wanted to be involved in providing a wellness center. And so there was a lot of discussion in Tarpon Springs as to whether or not the wellness center should be outside of the city of Tarpon Springs. And that was really the only issue that they had with the agreement itself.
Well, the biggest issues there was the hospital.
But in that particular case, is the wellness center that they were going to provide doesn't, in what you're saying, ours is a city employee wellness center, correct? And the city of Tarpon's would be
City employees.
Oh, it was for city employees that they were going to provide. Okay.
It was just the
Same
hospital.
thing.
Okay,
that had a
gotcha.
problem.
They didn't want their employees going from Tarpon Springs to somewhere else, like in this case, Palm Harbor. Just like Oldsmar now would have to come from Oldsmar to Palm Harbor. They wanted their employees to go from Tarpon Springs to Tarpon Springs.
Springs,
That
yes.
was the main issue.
And they were going to fund this and build it as the Florida League
No,
City?
they just came in at the last minute. They wanted to have some involvement, and they got their board involved, and half their board came and spoke at the commission meeting.
That's a
But it
hospital
was kind of like a last-ditch effort. They were aware of it, they just didn't really get
Didn't act on
involved.
it,
And
right?
didn't act on it until the 11th hour.
When you snooze, you lose.
But they didn't have any proposal as an alternative other than,
And
we don't want them
it
to
was
do it?
very preliminary.
Okay, all right.
It wasn't a finalized type proposal.
You want a
Well, I'm
motion?
sure our hospital in Oldsmar is not upset about it.
Yes,
so.
we're recommending approval of the interlocal agreement. I did not mention that a location has already been selected. It's in Palm Harbor, as Mr. Trask mentioned. It's on the west side of US 19 between Nebraska and Alderman.
You got a motion?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Nope.
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Beverly?
We can just die this one, right?
Yeah, I said
Nay.
discussion, yeah.
Oh, all in favor?
You don't have to have.
You don't have to
Oh, we don't do
call
roll,
roll.
oh, all in favor? I got myself all messed up on the last
I
one.
know it's late, but
I know.
Are you trying to punish me or what?
All those in favor?
Yes.
All those opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor and council, the next item, consider renewing the annual use agreement with Oldsmar BMX Incorporated for Canal Park BMX facility. There are no changes from the existing agreement. This is an annual agreement. It runs from July of one year to July of the next. I recommend approval of this renewed annual use agreement with Oldsmar BMX Incorporated.
I need a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, do I have a second? Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor and council, item 11, authorize the city attorney to prepare an ordinance annexing 3133 Huron Avenue. This is a property in West Oldsmar. This is a voluntary annexation at the request of the property owner. Tonight, I am asking that you authorize the city attorney to prepare the appropriate annexation ordinance.
Request, item number 11, to annex 3133 Huron. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
The only discussion I would have is when they request to do this, do we ever inquire as to what made them do it? I mean, was it, because we've talked about how to encourage more people to annex in. Do we ever ask them what provoked them? Was it something they saw or read or, I don't know, so we know maybe.
We sent letter recently.
But do we ask them what
No,
maybe
what
provoked?
they heard.
What they heard, that maybe one thing we're doing is working better than another, and I don't know, I'm just curious, it just kind of popped into my head.
In this case, this is an owner that has annexed a few other properties already. He's a big supporter, and of course, he has to wait until they're contiguous.
Yeah.
And so I don't know that there's
I was just curious.
There's more than one answer to your question. It's based upon contact or letters that we have had with various property owners, and probably as equally effective and over the years has been word of mouth among the owners
Okay,
themselves.
I'm just curious to see if one thing's working better than another, that's all. We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Yes.
Aye. All those opposed? 5-0, thank you.
Thank you. Mayor and council, the next item, approve renewal of interlocal agreement with Pinellas County for traffic signal maintenance. This is a 5-year agreement. It expires on September 30th at the end of the current fiscal year. The renewal would also be for a 5-year period. It covers the traffic signals that are owned by the city, and those are the 3 signals on Forest Lakes Boulevard, the one at Commerce and Douglas, as well as the signals for the school crossings. If you have any questions or comments, I'd be happy to respond to those. I recommend approval of this renewal of an interlocal agreement with Pinellas County for traffic control signals.
Do I have a motion?
She's the only one here.
A motion, we have a motion, do we have a second?
Tom's still
Tom's here. Hi, Tom. We have a motion and a second. No.
Yeah.
Okay, motion and a second, all in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes 5-0, thank you. City clerk.
I knew this was
Hi.
going to be a long one.
No, I'm done. I don't have anything.
Good. Gonna skip over you anyway. The city council, the next first item is to select Gabby McGee as the voting delegate to the Florida League of Cities Annual Conference.
Gabby?
You know that means the future's in my hands, just letting you know.
Oh, we all know what it is because we've all done it.
Gabby,
It just means you got to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning.
This feels like initiation.
let me tell you something.
It's up early anyway.
Don't spoil it.
What?
Don't spoil it for her.
No, I'm gonna tell you.
I'll be with you, babe.
No, you can't, you can make a difference. Let me tell you why. When I was the representative, the one time I.
The one time.
I went.
25 years or
I
whatever.
was the representative, and one morning we went in, just the representatives of all the cities, and that's when we okayed the resolutions. And they said, all in favor? And I did. I said, wait a minute. Whoa. I said, you gave us all the resolutions 15 minutes before we come in here, and you want us to sit here and vote on them, and we haven't even seen them. I said, I refuse. I said, what you need to do is send these resolutions to the cities ahead of time.
Yeah.
So our councils can get involved.
And they do now.
And you know what they did?
They did that.
They did that.
And then they stopped letting you be the voting delegate.
And he says this every year. He says this every year.
Well, it's a good thing he did.
We have a motion and a second for Gabby McGee. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Yay, Gabby!
You should have voted no. That's what I did.
I had put Doug question mark. I thought it was going to be a given, but I guess I was wrong.
I've got mayor stuff to do probably or
More
something.
initiation stuff for you. Don't you worry.
Council, comments by council, Mr. Beaverland.
Bless your heart. Okay, first thing, I've always talked to the city manager, I wanted on the next agenda, for the no parkings, my agenda item, not the whole thing, I know it fell before, but mine was messed up with everybody else getting in there. I want it on the agenda to either vote for or vote down the no parking on.
Oh, yes.
Just the one?
The one
Trout and
corner
Canal.
and only 2 houses each way.
And last time we just said we were letting the board handle it, then you got the emails concerning that, so.
The city got involved.
Yeah.
Right.
And put a whole bunch more in there.
So you want to put it back on just putting the parking?
The original
on
Just that one
Gotcha.
corner.
Yeah.
On that one corner on the agenda. Thank you.
Is there a way to make the sign like no parking within 100 feet or whatever the distance is from the corner, rather than 2 houses, whatever that distance is?
The answer is yes, you can regulate that, but you probably wouldn't want to change it from what the standard would be. But, one thing I just wanted to address is that, normally when a motion comes before you and is made and you voted on it, and, we have a council member that comes up later and wants to basically bring the same question back to you, it's what we call a motion for reconsideration.
Okay.
And that motion for reconsideration would have to be made by a person that was on the winning side of that particular vote.
Right.
Now, I don't think Jerry was on the winning side of that vote.
No, but.
But it's not the same question.
Right.
It's a different question, so I
Right.
just wanted to make that clear. It would come back, if it's the exact same question, he can't do that.
I couldn't do it.
But that's not what he's asking, so I didn't want there to be an issue as to.
That's interesting.
What is,
Yeah, okay.
what is allowable under Robert's rules.
So if he'd have brought back the same goofy 3 area thing.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I would have recommended that we not do
Okay.
that.
He would be getting back at me.
I don't have a problem with that. Does anybody else have a problem with that being on the agenda? Okay, anything else?
I made a mention.
No? Really?
about-
Okay, good. Janice, no.
I made a mention on the tar on Park Boulevard going south with all the.
Oh, yeah,
I
after they
mean,
redid the
they
road.
just dumped everything on that part of Park Boulevard. It'll never wear off now over maybe in the next 10 years. And they also did it down St. Pete Drive going west. I mean, they just dumped their tar everywhere down there. I mean, it's a real mess coming from your house
It's pretty
to
bad,
St.
yeah.
Pete.
It was
it's
after, I
horrible.
think they did Fairfield.
It was yesterday.
Yeah, Fairfield.
Yeah,
I
and
didn't
I think
oh.
it just fell off the
Must-
trucks as they were going in and out. And so
Oh.
the Park Boulevard, which is one of my favorite streets in the city, does look.
And we have never had that problem before.
there any way to bring in one of those brusher gizmos?
I made a note of it previously. Mr. Beaverland
I love Doug.
mentioned it to me yesterday, so it'll.
And I'd like to,
Work on
again, mention that Tony and the veterans, we need to bring that up and put it on our website. I sent an email out.
I think so.
Okay, so, and then, where's our lake?
It's still not here, obviously, because of the fact that they're still dealing with the Army Corps of Engineers. And I had talked to the guy about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and he said that he thought it was all resolved, that they were going to release them from the maintenance of the plantings around the outside edges of the pond, but he was waiting for that call. So I followed up with him with an email saying, can you please forward me that information when you get it? So I'll check in again. But it's been a month or so since I've talked to him.
Please.
Okay.
And I just want to comment, and I had this down before we started this meeting tonight. I just want to comment on an incredible prayer at the beginning of this. Thank you.
Welcome.
And other than that, thank you who you are.
Wish we could say the same. No. Vice Mayor Miller.
Okay. First of all, I want to commend Ann for this letter. Did all of this letter to the board members, did they all get them already?
Yes.
Okay, that was wonderful.
Great letter.
Great letter. And they do need, alternates do need to be present at every meeting. Just like you said, in case there isn't a quorum, that's what you're there for, you know. And secondly, I want to tell you about an incident. And I got an education by our deputy here. Tom gave me this, yeah, he gave me an education. Last week, what?
Did he arrest you?
No, he didn't arrest me. No, I was coming out of the bank. I was going to pull out.
Pulling out of the
and
bank, there's only 10 of them.
No, okay, Wells Fargo.
Oh.
Okay, and I'm coming out onto St. Pete Drive, right? I'm gonna make a right on St. Pete Drive. And I saw a man standing in the middle of the street on his phone. And he looked up at me and continued to stand there. So I waited. And pretty soon, he wasn't moving. So I tapped the horn. And he looked up at me and glared and walked to the middle of the lane that I was going to turn right on, because I was coming over to City Hall to see Ann. And he stood there and continued to do this. Now he's in the middle of the lane. I can't go anywhere. So I tapped the horn again. And he came at me like he was going to pounce, and he started beating on the car and beating on the window, trying to open the door.
Oh my God.
And screaming at me the whole time. Now there's a car behind me, and you know what? I just thought of something. He might have gotten in that car. That car might have been waiting for him. You know? Maybe that's why you didn't catch him. But the point I'm making is, I finally, when he's beating on the car, I finally just went around him, you know. And my heart was pounding, and I get here, and Tom's standing outside talking to Ann, and I'm, blah, 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 you know, this guy just accosted me, you know. And so he gave me an education after about 6 squads went and tried to find the guy. Then he came back and he said, Janice, anytime something like this happens, or anytime anything happens, citizens should call 911. So you got it, all you out there in TV land, call 911 if something, you know,
If you're in danger.
something, yeah, if you're in danger, you call 911, or if you see somebody else that's in danger, call 911. And, I thought, oh gee, I didn't want to bother 911 over this, and he said, no, that's the way they get all the squads there.
What do you want to do, get killed?
To catch them, at the time,
Bad.
So anyway, so now the other day, something else happened about some drug guy was selling drugs out of his car in West Oldsmar, and one of the residents came and told me, and we called 911, and Tom and 6 other guys went out there, but it was too late. The guy was already gone. But you said the landlord threw the people out? He evicted them right then and there, so, because that's the reason we wanted to annex West Oldsmar, is to clean it up,
And
and
they are, slowly but surely.
yeah. So anyway, anytime anything happens to you guys, call 911.
Anything else?
So, no, I think that's it.
You think? Gabby.
That's all I have written down.
I only have 2 things. One was I wanted to wish everyone a happy Father's Day. I hope everyone had a great Father's Day.
I did.
You did?
That's very nice of you.
They said, did you spend it with your daughter? I said, no.
Is that when you went to the Keys?
Oh, no, that was my trip down there. I just said, no, I went and did what I wanted to do on Father's Day. If she wants to come join me, fine.
It's your day. It's your day.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
If I want to wear plaid and stripes, I do it.
Good for you. We went to Salt Rock Tavern, did their Father's Day brunch, and it was excellent. And they, like you said, the parking, it was out the door. It took us like 15 minutes to find a parking spot, but it's good news for the restaurant because they did very well. And secondly, I did the firefighter, the 24-hour ride-along on Saturday. And I didn't have any calls like Jerry had, so I maybe eventually will do it again in the future on a night that might have some of those calls. But got a few calls and got one at 2:30 in the morning. And so in that particular call, I got to ride in the rescue vehicle. The rest of the calls, I was in the fire truck. But it gave me a better appreciation because you just always have to be on your toes. I was hesitant to take a shower because I was like, I don't want to be in the middle of a shower, and then the bell goes off, and I don't want to delay them in any way. Yeah.
I think they would leave without you, probably.
I think they probably would, but I slept with my full clothes, like jeans, everything. And they're like, you really don't have to do that.
You've got to be kidding.
No, I didn't. I wanted to be ready. I took my shoes off.
I wasn't that smart.
Oh, I probably would too.
I slept with everything, and they're like, you could put like shorts on or whatever. And they're like, there is time. I'm like, I just want to be ready. So when that bell went off at 2:30, I just put my shoes on. And literally they were like already heading out the door.
They were already there, weren't they?
They were pretty much in the place for the vehicle already. So I'm happy that I slept in my jeans. And I ended up cooking them a nice dinner. They originally said they would cook me dinner, and I haven't had to cook dinner in the last few months since Nick's been out of town, so I offered. And then they told Linda that she better be ready to cook.
I was going to say, way to set a precedent.
No, I know. I said, okay, you guys are in trouble because, I thought you guys were cooking for us. So be ready for takeout when it's my turn.
When I was there, it rang all night long.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
I was actually happy
Really?
because
Oh, yeah.
after the first call at 2:30, it was impossible to go back to sleep. And I kept thinking, please alarm don't go off, please alarm don't go off, because even though it'd be nice to get a couple more calls, I was very happy to get it. Needless to say, when I got done at 7 a.m. or 5 to 7, I called a little early. I told them, I said, don't ever wake me up at 2:30 again. And then I went to bed for about 3 hours. So I was exhausted, so I can imagine how they feel. But just wanted to thank Dean and Jason for giving me that opportunity. It was really great. And anyone that hasn't done it, if you get a free night, I encourage you to do it because it was really neat. I've never actually sat in the fire truck with the headset, and they invited me into the houses when we got the calls, and I was happy there wasn't a fire or a car accident. They were all medical.
So you didn't get any leopard leotards.
No, I didn't. I was a little disappointed.
I wouldn't have been.
But I'm not scarred for life, so everything is good. And that's all I had.
Thank you. Councilmember Norris.
Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there as well. And a real quick reminder for the Holiday Sharing Fund. You're going to play the sheriffs on July 6th at Bright House Field, and
We're going to whip the sheriffs.
And whip the sheriffs. And I think the tickets are $15 or $16, but $5 or a portion of it goes to the Holiday Sharing Funds. So everybody should come out. It's at 4:00. And one of these articles that we got in our email, I just wanted to point out, it's so funny. I had read some articles. I thought of you, Jerry, because I was doing a little research for the article that I wrote for the community news or whatever. And you're so good at all the history stuff. I said, okay, I can't have anything wrong in this article or else Jerry will be calling me. And so I had actually read this article that you had sent us, Bruce, and interesting fact that I didn't even know. I seriously thought REO Speedwagon was a band and that was it. But I'm serious. I didn't know there was an actual pickup truck, the first one in the United States, called an REO Speedwagon.
Yes.
Okay, so if there's other people out there that didn't know that fact, I just wanted to point that
There
out
aren't.
because that's very possible. So I'm easily amused. So I just thought it was. See, Tom didn't know. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tom.
Hey,
Thank
I got your back.
So anyway, and because when our other mayor, Roniker, was talking about naming the new place REO Speedwagon, and we're all making fun of him. We're making fun of whoever brought it up because it's like it's gonna.
You might have been.
Yeah, because it's like it's a band. Why are we gonna name it REO Speedwagon? That's crazy, you know. But no. Did you know?
Yeah, I
Before you read the article.
I gotta tell.
I knew just because of all the history.
I'm
and
so
stuff.
proud of you. So anyway, so that's it. That's all I got.
That's all you got. I don't have much. I was on, I don't even know when it was, last Monday, was it? Was I on there? I was on 102.5 The Bone, the competitive radio station. It was Mayor's Week, and it was fun, a little tongue-in-cheek. Of course, we got 2 calls. One was about horse poop. No, it wasn't.
Was it Janice? Good one, Gabby.
And they were talking about that, and I tried to answer it diplomatically. I didn't know where he was riding, and then he couldn't ride, and it, all this stuff, and then the other one was about the trees, and
I was gonna bring that up.
he did.
Pooping trees.
Called about it's Amy, and she called, and and I told her that, and I mentioned this to you the other day, that I said,
Yeah.
I don't know where it stands, but I do know that we're looking at, trying to find where there might potentially be some places that we can put some trees.
Right where they used to be.
Well, I know, but for whatever reason, but yeah. So at any rate, so that was fun. It was tongue in cheek. He lives, Spice lives in West Chase, and he gave us a lot of love, and it's a good thing. It was fun, and the mayor of Indian Rocks Beach was on later in the week, which if you know him, he's a hoot. So I do have one thing that's been asked. Well, I don't want to say asked, but maybe implied. We have Celebrate Oldsmar coming up. And I know we had discussed this, and my question is, do we want to turn this over to the Leisure Services Board? It's been asked about having beer and wine at Celebrate Oldsmar. And the reason I say that, because you get down there and people can't differentiate between a chamber event and a city event. They really don't know who's putting them on.
Right.
They always assume it's the city, whether it's Freedom Fest, Celebrate Oldsmar, or whatever it is, and we have it at those. In talking to Tom and Rick and things like that at all the events, we really don't have any issues. We obviously don't want to turn it away from a family event, but I think it can be both. I don't know if that's something we want to turn over to them. It is an additional revenue source that we might be able to do something better. Bruce and I have had some discussions about potentially what could happen with that money and things like that. So I don't know. It's just a thought. Do we want to turn it over to them and see if they want to consider that? We do have a permit, I think, right? Don't we? That we have permits that we don't use.
We could get one.
Yeah.
What's this for?
For
Wine.
beer and wine.
Here at Celebrate Oldsmar.
Celebrate Oldsmar to do beer and wine like we do at all the events that just happen to be chamber events that are in the city. This is another event that's in the city that the city does. I mean, other municipalities put on events and have beer and wine. To me, it doesn't deter from the fact that I hate to be honest about it. I think it's a family thing, but I hate to be honest about it. People are bringing beer and wine in there anyway. They're bringing it in coolers, and I'd rather do it above board and make some money on it if we're going to do
I
it.
think that's a decision the council should make, and not.
That's what he's saying.
I'm saying that, or do we, as a council, or turn it to the Leisure Services Board? Bruce had suggested to give it to them to decide. We can make that decision.
Well, they make recommendations.
Makes the recommendation.
They don't decide anything.
Correct.
They're an
Sorry.
advisory board.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm fine with letting them recommend to
Sure,
us.
sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess unless we want to just make the decision, but that's really their role, is to kind of at least advise us and provide input.
This is just a consensus, right? This is not a motion.
To put,
Just
to
to
turn
think
it
about.
over, to turn it over to the leaders.
If you want to ask them for a recommendation, that's really your question.
That's my question. Is that something we want to do?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Okay, all right.
You get consensus.
Consensus. The only other item I had, what did I write there? I can't even read my own writing. I wrote it so long ago. The only other item I have is just don't forget to dress nicely. Our photographer will be here at the next meeting.
Do we have to really go by all those rules? No necklace, primary
What?
colors?
I didn't read any rules. I'm just coming dressed. There's rules.
There's rules.
Okay.
There's a lot of rules.
What do you mean don't wear cowboy boots? What, are they taking full body shots?
Yeah, they're taking like full group photos and they want us to wear black or
Seriously?
dark
Is it that
suits
strict?
with closed-toed shoes and minimal jewelry because the flash.
Can I just come dressed like I normally do?
Well, read
Not like this, but
Read
like
the rules.
that. Well, not like that. No, not like that.
That'll do it right there.
Yeah.
You covered.
Let me tell you something. I got to talk to you and you after the meeting about the
Okay.
statute.
Oh.
What statue?
No, I am.
Oh my God. All right. So anyway, that's just it. I don't know what else I wrote, but that's all I have. I need a motion to approve the tentative agenda for July 2nd. Motion and second. Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Oh,
Oh, right at 10:01.
I knew it was going to be long.
We got a bulb out up there. Did you know that? It's the Lyndon Norris.
Notice.
The Lyndon Norris bulb is burnt out.